Chu took Qin Wanshu to get her luggage. On the way, they met the male doctor again, because he moved to the room next to Qin Wanshu's in the hospital. He had to work very hard to convince his superiors. I thought I could have the advantage of being close to Qin Wanshu, but unexpectedly I saw that Qin Wanshu was moving away. Dr. Qin, isn't the hospital very good? Food and accommodation are very convenient. Why do you want to live outside? The male doctor tried hard to persuade. No, I found the most suitable place. I will not give up that place again, Qin Wanshu said as he watched Chu leave with his suitcase. I'll see Dr. Zhang tomorrow. Qin Wanshu greeted him and trotted after Chu. Then she naturally took his arm. The male doctor was completely disappointed at this point. So they are really a couple. At this time, a man came over and patted him on the shoulder and said, "Give up, she won't stay here." They knew Qin Wanshu's identity. She was the daughter of the Qin family, and her main purpose of coming here was not to gain experience. She came here just for the patient with amnesia. This may also be her way of treating patients. After Chu made all the arrangements for Qin Wanshu, he drove to Chen's building. As usual, he parked his car at the gate and waited for Chen Zixiu to get off work. At the same time, he also saw the Bentley parked not far away. Seeing that the time was almost up, Chu got out of the car and stood next to the car. Sure enough, after a while, Chen Zixiu walked out of the building. She walked straight towards him, and Chu quickly opened the back seat door. At this time, Chen Zixiu did not get in the car, but stood in front of Chu and looked at him straight. Chu frowned, not knowing what was wrong with Chen Zixiu. Suddenly, Chen Zixiu stepped forward, stood on tiptoe, hugged Chu neck, and then kissed him. Chu was a little surprised. The entrance of Chen building also became quiet in an instant. Chen Yi, who had just walked out of the house, looked at this scene and opened her mouth in surprise. She heard that her sister had a chaotic private life, but that was what others said. She just heard it. Both she and others had solid evidence that her sister had had an affair with someone else. Kissing a man in public is even more unheard of. But now it was actually happening. How could she not be surprised? Li Yunfeng, who was following behind Chen Yi, also looked in the direction of Chen Zixiu in surprise, with a rather unhappy look on his face. Chapter 231 Progress. Li Yunfeng himself didn't know that he would feel jealous. At the beginning, Chen Zixiu pursued him fanatically, and even recently she was eyeing him covetously. Although he didn't say anything, he always felt proud of it. But today, that complacency was gone. He didn't expect Chen Zixiu's transformation to be so quick, but he didn't know who that man was. After Chu was shocked, he couldn't help but look at the couple not far away. It suddenly dawned on me that Chen Zixiu's performance was most likely for the man named Li Yunfeng to see. This is to make Li Yunfeng jealous, or to attract Li Yunfeng's attention. I have to say that Chen Zixiu's move was quite effective. At least Li Yunfeng's attention was on Chen Zixiu at this time. After figuring out the whole thing, Chu regained his composure. He didn't really think that Chen Zixiu would like him. After Chen Zixiu kissed Chu she said with a slightly evasive look, "Don't think too much, I just want to reward you for helping me." Chu was a little speechless. "Reward? You might as well just give me money. Isn't it just to make Li Yunfeng pay attention to you? As for finding such a lame excuse." Chu looked at Chen Zixiu. The other person's face was very calm, as if she had done something very ordinary. Seeing this, Chu became more certain of his guess. At this time, Chen Zixiu also secretly glanced at Chu but saw Chu face that was calm without any ripples. Chen Zixiu's face showed a look of confusion and bewilderment, as well as a hint of loss. It seemed like she didn't see the expression she wanted to see. After Chu let Chen Zixiu get in the car, he sat in the driver's seat. After starting the car, it drove forward smoothly. When passing the Bentley, Chu slowed down. He nodded to Li Yunfeng and Chen Yi as a greeting. Li Yunfeng didn't even look at Chu but looked at Chen Zixiu's position. But Chen Zixiu didn't look at him. Her eyes are on Chu. As the car passed by, Li Yunfeng asked Chen Yi, "Who is that person?" "His name is Chu Yuan, and he lives over on Xiangshan Road." "Xiangshan Road? Zixiu seems to have a villa there, right?" Chen Yi looked at Li Yunfeng and said inexplicably, "You know it clearly." Li Yunfeng was slightly stunned. He looked at Chen Yi but saw that Chen Yi had already entered the car. Chen Yi has been wondering who wrote the plan. Now it seems that we have the answer. But the other party only stayed in Zixiu's room for more than an hour. How is it possible to come up with such a perfect plan in such a short time? This is a solution that a team couldn't come up with in 3 days. But apart from him, She really couldn't think of anyone else who could provide Chen Zixiu with such an excellent plan. Chen Yi suddenly smiled and said, "Interesting, really interesting." Chu Ji and Chen Zixiu are returning home. Chen Zixiu sat on the sofa in the living room and watched Chu Ji busy in the kitchen. The faint aroma of food filled the air. She found that Chu Ji's cooking skills were really good, and she felt that her appetite had improved a lot in recent times. At this time, her phone rang, and Chen Zixiu answered the call. "Ziu Ziu, come out and have some fun." The voice of my best friend came from the other end of the phone. Chen Zixiu looked up at Chu Ji in the kitchen and said, "No need, my husband is cooking for me." "What, you're one? Zixiu, are you serious?" Chen Zixiu frowned and asked, "Do I give you the impression that I am a very casual person?" "Certainly." Chen Zixiu's face froze. "What a bunch of bad friends. Is there anyone who says this about me?" "Hee, blame us. Every time we go out to play, you're always the craziest." "But I didn't grab someone's crotch like someone else," said Chen Zixiu. "Hey, aren't we inspecting the goods for you?" came a voice from the other side. "That's it, how is it? Are you satisfied?" Chen Zixiu's face suddenly turned red. "You are really like a dog that can't spit out ivory. You are so filthy. How could I have a best friend like you? I'm done with you." There's a giggling sound coming from the other side. Chen Zixiu couldn't stand it anymore and hung up the phone. When she looked up, she saw Chu Ji looking at her. Chen Zixiu hurriedly put her phone away and pretended to be calm and said, "Is the meal ready?" Chu Ji said, "It's ready, I'll serve you some rice." Chu Ji helped Chen Zixiu serve the meal, and then went to the side to clean up. Chen Zixiu frowned. "Why, you won't eat with me? Or is it that I'm missing a bite of food for you?" "You eat first, I'll clean up here," said Chu Ji. "I told you to eat now." Chen Zixiu suddenly got angry. Chu Ji was stunned for a moment, then went in, took a bowl of rice, and sat next to the dining table. "Okay, I'll have dinner with you." Chu Ji started eating with the thought that if you don't take advantage of an opportunity, you'd be a fool. Only after seeing this did Chen Zixiu pick up her bowl. His face was cold, and no one knew what he was thinking. He just looked at Chu Ji fiercely while eating, as if he was eating him. After finishing his meal and cleaning up, Chu Ji prepared to leave. Chen Zixiu said expressionlessly, "You can live here." Chu Ji said, "This is really not possible, I have something else to do." Chen Zixiu asked, "Why, do you have anything else to do besides accompanying me?" Chu Ji said, "This is my personal matter, but it's not a part-time job. You have to give me some private time, right?" Chu Ji said helplessly. He didn't expect Chen Zixiu to be so domineering. Logically speaking, Li Yunfeng can't see it now, so why does she have to pretend like this? Chen Zixiu looked at Chu Ji, breathing rapidly and with anger in her eyes. Finally, she held back and said, "I still hope you know your current identity. We have a contract." "The contract does not restrict my personal freedom," said Chu Ji. Chen Zixiu snorted coldly. Watching Chu Ji leave, Chen Zixiu stomped her feet fiercely. Chu Ji didn't care what Chen Zixiu thought of him. He went straight to the hospital. Qin Wanchu seemed to be waiting for him, and when she saw him coming, her eyes lit up. "How is Grandma's condition?" "It's stable now, but you know that the chances of curing cancer are very low. Besides, Grandma is too old to withstand the ordeal." Qin Wanchu told the truth. "How much time is left?" Chu Ji knew that what Qin Wanchu said was true, and he had to accept this fact even if he was reluctant. "There are probably still 3 months left. Even with targeted drugs, it won't last long. I don't think it's necessary," Qin Wanchu said. Chu Ji said, "I want to ask you for help with the targeted drug issue, and I'll find a way to pay for it." Qin Wanchu nodded helplessly. She knew Chu Ji, and naturally knew how much he cared about his family. "Wasn't it because of his grandmother that he asked me for that medical book?" It seems that his grandmother was very good to him. Even though she passed away several years ago, she still left an indelible mark in Chu Ji's heart. So she especially understood why Chu Ji cared so much about a strange old man. It's not that he is so noble, but the obsession deep in his heart is causing trouble. Chu Ji talked with his grandmother for a while, and when he saw that she was sleepy, he walked out of the ward. Following Qin Wanchu out, Chu Ji said, "I'll treat you to a midnight snack." "Okay," Qin Wanchu agreed with a smile on his face. Chapter 232, Breaking into a Private House. Chu Ji looked at Qin Wanchu's smile with a dazed look. He always felt that he had seen this smile before. This smile once occupied an important position in his life, but he could not remember it. Maybe he was his destiny from his previous life. Chu Ji looked at Qin Wanchu with unprecedented tenderness in his eyes. Qin Wanchu noticed Chu Ji's gaze and felt warm all over. She felt her sunshine coming back. Qin Wanchu showed a comfortable smile, opened her arms and jumped and spun around in front of Chu Ji. She hadn't been so happy in a long time. Ever since she accidentally pushed Chu Ji away, she has never been so happy again. And now that Chu Ji is back, she feels like she is alive again. Chu Ji looked at Qin Wanchu with the same smile. At this time, it suddenly started to drizzle. Chu Ji took off his clothes without hesitation and put them on Qin Wanchu's head. This scene was so familiar that Chu Ji was a little confused. There seemed to be a similar picture flashing in my mind. It's still her, and it's still the same feeling. Chu Ji lowered his head and looked at Qin Wanchu, who was hiding in his arms. His eyes filled with confusion and a hint of love. Qin Wanchu also looked at Chu Ji. She saw from Chu Ji's eyes that he was infatuated with her, just as he was at the beginning. She felt herself intoxicated by this look. She unconsciously stood on tiptoe and kissed Chu Ji's lips. Chu Ji did not dodge. He felt like he had been waiting for this kiss for a long time. The sweet and soft touch made Chu Ji a little intoxicated. He couldn't help wanting more, much more. Qin Wanchu's mind was already blank at this moment. She let Chu Ji ask for it, unwilling to refuse even a little bit. At this moment, a cough was heard from the side. Chu Ji woke up in shock. Qin Wanchu came back to her senses, a long time after Chu Ji let go of her lips. She looked to the side and saw Dr. Zhang. "Dr. Zhang, aren't you on duty today? Why are you here?" Qin Wanchu asked. Dr. Zhang smiled a smile that was uglier than crying and said, "I just came out for a stroll." Dr. Zhang is gone, but his figure looked a little bleak. Qin Wanchu looked at Chu Ji's embarrassed expression and burst out laughing. "What's wrong? Where did your boldness go?" Qin Wanchu teased. Chu Ji subconsciously hugged Qin Wanchu again and said, "If we don't leave now, we will really become drowned rats." A clear and pleasant laugh came out of Qin Wanchu's mouth. After having supper, Chu Ji took Qin Wanchu back to his villa. As I walked into the room, I saw Zhu Moyu's teasing look. Chu Ji didn't know why, but he felt a little guilty. "Sister Moyu, I brought you some food." Chu Ji came to Zhu Moyu in a flattering manner. Zhu Moyu saw this and smiled. "Humph, I'll forgive you this time." "Let's go shopping in the mall tomorrow," Qin Wanchu said next to him. Zhu Moyu said, "Okay, it's a good opportunity to buy some clothes for Yuan as well." Chu Ji looked at the clothes on his body and said, "Isn't this great?" "Listen to us, you have no right to object," Zhu Moyu said domineeringly. What? At the same time, at the Chen family's old house, the head of the Chen family was still sighing at the plan proposed by Chen Zixiu. Each step of this plan is ordinary, but when put together, it can produce a different effect. The person who made this plan is really talented and has the ability to turn decay into magic. Have you found out which planning company did this? Talents like this must be poached. The last sentence was asked by the head of the Chen family to the housekeeper next to him. The butler said, "Not yet, but we do have someone we suspect." "Who?" "The second young lady brought someone home not long ago," said the old housekeeper. The Chen family's head's face darkened. "Nonsense." The housekeeper said, "Chairman, this plan might have been made by that person." The head of the Chen family frowned. Would someone with such ability be willing to be a gigolo? Humph, even if it was him, he must have bought him from who knows where. The butler next to him didn't say anything. "Go, give that guy a warning and tell him to stay away from Ziu Ziu. He is just trying to attract attention." The butler nodded and said, "Okay, Chairman, I'll arrange it right away." The night passed quickly. Chu Ji went to Chen Zixiu's place early the next morning and made breakfast for her. After making breakfast, seeing that Chen Zixiu had not left yet, he knocked on the door. There was no movement inside. Chu Ji frowned. Could it be that Chen Zixiu didn't live here yesterday? He pushed the door open and walked in. But I found the room was very clean, and there was no sign that it had ever been lived in. Chu Ji was speechless. The other party didn't even notify me. But since the meal was ready, he didn't want to waste it, so he ate some himself. It would be a pity to throw away the rest, so he packed it up and took it away. He took out his cell phone and called Chen Zixiu. At this moment, the door suddenly opened. Chu Ji looked towards the door and saw two strange men walking in. Chu Ji frowned. "Who are you? How do you have the password to this room?" But the two men didn't even give him a chance to speak. Behind them were two policemen. "You've been accused of trespassing. Please come with us." Chu Ji was at a loss, but it was obvious that they wouldn't listen to my explanation. When Chu Ji was being taken away, he heard someone next to him say, "Don't you even look at yourself and realize that you are such a nobody? How dare you covet Miss Chen?" Chu Ji was locked up. Even the cell phone was confiscated. By the time Qin Wanchu realized something was wrong, Chu Ji had been locked up for almost a day, and he hadn't been given a sip of water to drink. Chen building. Chenya tapped her fingers lightly on the table. Of course, she knew about her family's actions, but she didn't quite agree. It is wrong to deny all the efforts and achievements of a person just because he comes from a humble background. She was sure that Chu Ji was the one who planned it, because when she went to Chen Zixiu's office, Chu Ji was at Chen Zixiu's position. That day she also saw Chen Zixiu's secretary hurriedly leaving with a document. It's inappropriate to deny the other party without investigating the matter thoroughly. Let's just let him go, Chenya said as she picked up the phone on the table and prepared to call her assistant in. At this time, there was a person sitting opposite Chenyi, and that was Li Yunfeng. Li Yunfeng's eyes flickered as he said, "No need to trouble other people. I happen to be free. I'll go to the police station myself." Chapter 233, Fatty Fish's Way. Chenya nodded and said, "Okay, let's just warn him. After all, how can he enter Zixiu's house without Zixiu's permission? I'll leave this matter to you." Hearing this, Li Yunfeng narrowed his eyes slightly. He went to the police station and asked a person in charge, "How is the other party?" "Mr. Li, the other party is very quiet, not noisy or noisy." Li Yunfeng glanced at Chu Ji through the small window, with a hint of sarcasm on his lips. At this time, Chu Ji also looked up at the small window, his eyes calm and cold. Li Yunfeng actually saw a hint of indifference in the other person's eyes, indifference towards him. That look was condescending, as if he was looking down at an ant. This feeling made him very uncomfortable. Li Yunfeng avoided looking at Chu Ji. He turned his head and looked at the person next to him. "Lock it." The man next to him looked a little puzzled and said, "Mr. Li, the other party has done nothing wrong. We can only detain him for 24 hours. Li Yunfeng said, "Just follow the rules." The man next to him was a little surprised when he heard this. He had received news that the eldest daughter of the Chen family would arrange for someone to release Chu Yuan instead of keeping him locked up. After all, the other party did nothing wrong, so it seems unreasonable to charge him with trespassing. At most, this person lived with the second daughter of the Chen family before getting married, which made him have some moral flaws. Although there were doubts in my mind, the person in charge of this matter did not say much. Li Yunfeng turned his head to look at the confinement room, sneered, and left. The man looked at Li Yunfeng's back as he left and said to his colleague next to him, "Didn't the Chen family say they would release this person?" The Chen family just wanted to give him a warning. They didn't really want to do anything to him. Who knows, but this Li Yunfeng is very close to the eldest daughter of the Chen family. Could it be that the eldest daughter of the Chen family has changed her mind? Or did the person inside do something that displeased the eldest daughter of the Chen family? That shouldn't be the case. The news I just received was that the eldest daughter of the Chen family asked us to be prepared to release the person. She said she would arrange for someone to come and handle the formalities. Tusk, I don't know about that. Was it Li Yunfeng's own idea? Does he have a grudge against the person inside? Never mind. We are not Chen's bodyguards. We just need to follow our own procedures and release the person tomorrow. In the confinement room, Chu Ji recognized Li Yunfeng at a glance, although the small window only revealed the other's eyes. He saw mockery and hostility towards him in the other person's eyes. At the same time, I also heard what the other party said. He asked himself whether he had ever had any interaction with Li Yunfeng. It was just the mockery in the other party's eyes. In his eyes, he was probably just a clown, but why was there such hostility? At the same time, Chen and Chen Zixiu looked anxious. She was called by her father in the middle of the night, and her cell phone was confiscated, saying that he wanted to train her in etiquette. It's been a whole day, and she has been studying for a whole day. There are 2 more days of classes to come. This is nothing new. Every young lady from a big family will learn this. She has always been spoiled and has never studied seriously. Being pulled here to study this time is also a kind of respect for me. At least they used to ignore me before. Perhaps it was because of that plan that they noticed their abilities. However, her heart is not here now. She was thinking about Chu Ji. What would she do if Chu Ji couldn't see her today? Finally, today's training is over. Chen Zixiu found an opportunity to steal the phone, and then Chu Ji called. But the other side reported that the phone was turned off. Chen Zixiu frowned. She sent a text message to Chu Ji, but there was no response from the other party after the message was sent. Chen Zixiu felt vaguely uneasy. At the same time, Zhu Moyu also got the news. Her expression turned cold. "Chen family, very good, you wait for me. Wanshu, let's go to the police station." Police station. After arriving at the police station and negotiating, Chu-ji was finally released. Chu-ji was fine. Chin Wanshu next to her almost burst into tears. She held Chu-ji's arm tightly for fear that he would leave again. Chu-ji patted Chin Wanshu's hand comfortingly and said, "I'm fine, don't worry." After leaving the police station, Zhu Moyu was still feeling indignant. Chu-ji said, "Don't worry, this is just a warning from the Chen family." "Warned? It just wants me to stay away from Chen Zixiu. I couldn't wish for that," said Chu-ji. "But he's trying to make money." Thinking of this, Chu-ji said to Chin Wanshu and Zhu Moyu, "You go back first, I want to look around." He thought that after leaving Chen Zixiu's job, he would have to find another job. "My grandmother is still in the hospital." Under Chu-ji's insistence, Chin Wanshu and Zhu Moyu left reluctantly. After they left, Chu-ji also breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't want the two of them to see his miserable appearance any longer. After the two women left, a man came running over in a hurry. It was Fatty. Although Fatty Fish has just reached adulthood, he is tall and strong, with a big head that looks cute but also a bit fierce. "Fat Fish, brother, I just got the news. How did you get into the police station?" Fat Yu looked at Chu-ji worriedly. "Don't worry, it's okay. He has been released now, right?" Chu-ji comforted Fatty. "Brother, what's going on? Have you offended anyone? Tell me and I will settle it for you," Fat Fish said, patting his chest. Chu-ji laughed dumbly and looked at Fatty Yu and said, "If someone didn't know you, they would think you were a gangster. Don't worry, I didn't offend anyone. It was just a warning from someone. It's nothing serious." Fatty Fish said, "Warning. Whoever dares to do that, I'll kill him." Chu-ji slapped him on the forehead in anger. "Quiet down, I said it's okay, it's okay." Fatty shrank his neck and dared not speak. "Brother, what are you going to do next?" "Of course I'll continue to look for a job. My grandma still needs medical expenses. I don't have much money left. By the way, I'll give you the money first. Go see Grandma tomorrow. You haven't been there for a few days. Grandma didn't say anything, but she still misses you." Chu-ji kept a small portion of the money in his hand and transferred the rest to Fatty Yu. Fatty's eyes turned red and he lowered his head, not daring to let Chu-ji look into his eyes. Chu-ji didn't realize that Fatty was acting strangely. He was looking at the shops on both sides to see which one needed help. "Brother, I have a job here. Do you want to do it?" asked Fatty Fish. Chu-ji looked at Fatty Yu. "What kind of job?" "The management of a factory," said Fat Fish. Chu-ji looked at Fatty in surprise. "Is it the factory director?" "Yes, it's the factory director." Chu-ji looked at Fatty suspiciously and asked, "Do you have such a way? What kind of fish are you going to catch with this kind of opportunity?" "Don't worry about this. Just tell me whether you want to go or not," Fatty Fish said. Chapter 234 Target Li Yunfeng. "That's good, of course," said Chu-ji. Although he didn't remember what his educational background was, he felt that managing a factory was not a problem. "Let's go and take a look." Chu-ji decided to conduct an on-site inspection. "It hasn't been taken down yet." No, I mean tomorrow. I'll take you to see it tomorrow," Fat Fish said in a panic. Chu-ji narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard that and looked at Fatty thoughtfully and said, "Okay, I'll wait for tomorrow. How's Grandpa doing?" "Don't worry, Grandpa. I'll take good care of you," said Fatty Fish. They no longer fish now because Fat Fish's grandfather is old and can no longer withstand the wind and waves on the sea. Chu-ji nodded and didn't care. After seeing Fatty Fish off, Chu-ji shook his head. He felt that Fatty Fish had been acting strange lately and had been going to the hospital less frequently. But it's not right to say that he is unfilial. It seems that he is just busy. Maybe he is also busy trying to save up money for medical expenses, just like me. But he now needs to investigate what he is busy with. That night, two gangs were fighting each other. A sturdy young man took the lead, wielding a steel pipe. His figure is like a demon descending to the earth. His physical advantage allowed him to charge into the enemy's crowd like a hot knife through butter, as if he were in an empty space. He knocked the opponent's boss to the ground by himself. The whole place was silent. Not only the other team's people, but also the people behind the burly figure all swallowed their saliva. When had they ever seen such a fierce person? At this time, a middle-aged man walked over from behind the burly young man. He was the person that Fatty Yu had rescued. "Damn it, Zhao Leiasen, you dare to find someone to attack me. You are really tired of living. Tell me, what should I do?" "I give up. The factory and the nearby docks are under your management." The guy who was knocked down lowered his head dejectedly. The middle-aged man patted the sturdy figure beside him with a smile and said, "Ayu, the factory is yours to manage. 60% of the money earned will go to the society, and the rest is yours." A sturdy figure revealed his face under the light of the cars on the road nearby. It was Fatty Fish. Fatty wrapped a piece of cloth around his injured arm and said in a silly tone, "Thank you, big brother." "Haha, brothers, listen to me. Fatty will be the leader of our new hall from now on," said the middle-aged man while looking around. The others quickly responded. Fatty also smiled with relief. Although Chu-ji was mentally prepared when he saw the factory, he was still speechless at the factory's simple shacks. The people here all have pale faces and thin bodies with dull eyes. They don't look like decent workers, but rather like they came from illegal coal mines. Fatty also frowned, and his face looked a little unhappy. "Brother, I didn't expect this factory to be so bad. This factory is lucky enough to be able to break even, and they are talking about making a profit. This is a scam." Fatty is now very dissatisfied. Chu-ji said, "It doesn't matter as long as there are people. I have roughly checked it out. I think it's okay." Fatty was stunned and asked, "Brother, are you really okay? You know, if this factory doesn't make money, he, as the head of the hall, will also feel uneasy." When he saw the condition of the factory, he was really at a loss. But now Chu-ji's words, "It's okay," made him feel at ease. Fatty looked at Chu-ji with some admiration, as if no matter what happened, it was no problem for him. "It seems like we have some luck." Chu-ji's mouth curled up slightly. Fatty Fish next to him shuddered. "Brother, your smile is so scary." Chu-ji's face froze. "If you can't speak, shut up." The fat fish shrank its neck. "The factory makes pianos. To be precise, it is used to make the outer frame of the piano. It is hard to imagine that an expensive piano comes from a factory like this." As far as he knew, there was a famous piano factory in Jinwen. The owner of the piano factory was an acquaintance of his in Jinwen. "Isn't this a coincidence?" Chu-ji smiled coldly. The fat fish next to him shuddered. After Peng Yu handed the factory over to Chu-ji, he no longer cared about it. Chu-ji looked at the workers here and narrowed his eyes slightly. "You will be free from now on." The workers were slightly stunned, and then a little frightened. "Are you going to fire us?" "No, no, no. What I mean is that you can make your own decisions in the future. I will give you the factory, but I promise you will still have work to do. The future work model will be commission-based. The more you work, the more you earn. I also guarantee that your salary will double. Of course, if you want to leave, you can do so. I won't force you. After all, you will be responsible for your own work in the future." "Real? Of course, I will sign a contract with you. The land under the factory will still be mine, but you will no longer be employed by me. The employment relationship between us is terminated." Chu-ji registered a company named Yashi. The company and the factory no longer have any relationship, at least on the surface. Chu-ji went to find Zhu Moyu. "Sister Moyu, I want you to be my manager." Zhu Moyu threw a coquettish glance at Chu-ji. "Just be a manager. I can do other things." As she said this, her delicate body leaned on Chu-ji, weak and boneless. Chu-ji coughed twice, but he did not feel any aversion in his heart. If it were someone else, Chu-ji would push the other person away no matter how beautiful that person was. But Zhu Moyu was different. He seemed to have no resistance to her at all, and deep down in his heart he even felt that she should belong to him. Zhu Moyu covered her mouth and chuckled. Chu-ji quickly put the company in order and then set his sights on another company, Li Yunfeng's company, Yuyin Company. It is also a piano company. Li Yunfeng was drinking tea in the company at this time. He started from scratch and now has put the company on the right track. The piano brand he produces has now entered the European market and has considerable profits every year. And he is naturally also a prominent figure of the younger generation in Jinwen, and only he is qualified to have a relationship with Chen's daughter. He was proud of it too. At this time, there was a knock on the door. "Mr. Li, the boss of a company called Yashi wants to see you." Li Yunfeng raised his eyebrows slightly. "It's just a small company, let the manager handle it," said Li Yunfeng. Chu-ji looked at the piano parts being brought in, and his eyes narrowed slightly. Like a little fox whose conspiracy has succeeded. Zhu Moyu asked, "What are you going to do?" Chu-ji said, "Have you read a book called The Distant Savior?" "The Faraway Savior?" "No." Zhu Moyu shook her head. She had no impression of this book in her mind. "You can read it when you have time. It's a very profound book." Zhu Moyu looked at Chu-ji in confusion, wondering what he did had to do with the book. Chapter 235, The Return of Tenderness. Chen Zixiu's etiquette training was finally completed, but she found that she couldn't contact Chu-ji. An unprecedented feeling of loss and panic surrounded her. She went to the house she and Chu-ji lived in, and to Chu-ji's villa but couldn't find Chu-ji. But she found a woman in Chuz's villa, a beautiful, impossibly shaped woman, and the woman said that the owner of the villa rented the house to her. Then he looked at her with strange eyes, examining her from head to toe as if he was selecting goods. This made Chen Zixiu very dissatisfied. Chu Ji was doing an examination at this time. The person who examined him was naturally Qin Wanshu. Qin Wanshu checked the test results and frowned. The blood clots are dissipating very slowly. We can draw them out through surgery. A middle-aged doctor nearby said, but the location of the blood clot is somewhat special. Also, we found that his memory center was indeed damaged. And even if the blood is drained out, it may not restore his memory. Qin Wanshu said, we have to give it a try, I'll do the surgery. The middle-aged doctor nodded. No one knew when Chu Ji fell asleep. Later, he vaguely heard a voice that made him feel very comfortable. This voice is so familiar. Deep in his heart, he had a slight fascination and a slight desire. The soft calling voice seemed to come from heaven. He murmured something, murmuring the name deep in his memory. Qin Wanshu called Chu Ji's name softly. She heard Chu Ji's murmur, it was her own name. Qin Wanshu's tears burst out. How deeply did he love himself at the beginning that he responded to his own call subconsciously. He loved me so much, but what did I do to him? Qin Wanshu felt heartbroken when she thought of Chu Ji standing alone in the playground that day, looking lost, helpless, and even desperate. I will never leave you again, never again. It was already evening when Chu Ji woke up. He felt his mind was much clearer. This is a single room. At this time, a voice called out from outside the door. Dr. Qin, there is an unconscious patient here, suspected to have suffered a severe blow to the head. I'll be there right away. A voice that sounded particularly familiar to him sounded. Chu Ji slowly stood up, relieved his physical discomfort, and then quickly walked out of the ward. Chu Ji saw Qin Wanshu's back, and she was hurriedly rushing in one direction. Dr. Qin, you have already performed 2 operations. Can you hold on? Someone asked. Patients are important. I can still hold on, Qin Wanshu said. Chu Ji looked at Qin Wanshu's back with confusion, memories, and fascination in his eyes. He walked towards Qin Wanshu unconsciously. Then I followed her to the door of the operating room. He waited there. When it was completely dark, the door of the operating room opened. Qin Wanshu walked out with a tired look on his face. After briefly explaining everything to her family, she wanted to leave in a hurry. But when she looked up, she saw Chu Ji standing not far away. There was surprise and anxiety in her eyes. Chu Ji walked to Qin Wanshu's side at this time. Wanshu, long time no see. Qin Wanshu suddenly covered his mouth, because Chu Ji's greeting was very similar to what he said when they were in school. That day he came back from his hometown and said this to me the first time he saw me, even though it had only been less than a month. Tears welled up in her eyes. Wanshu, I seem to remember some things, but I can't remember them all. Should I call you Chuj asked. Qin Wanshu said, it doesn't matter what your name is, really. Chu Ji thought about it, and it seemed to be true. It didn't really matter what his name was. What mattered was that he was fine now, really fine. Maybe this was heaven. Chu Ji noticed the fatigue in Qin Wanshu's eyes, and his heart subconsciously twitched slightly. Put my things aside for now, Wanshu. You should rest now. Qin Wanshu shook his head. I can't sleep. I'm right next to you, okay, Chu Ji said. Qin Wanshu nodded, tears rolling down her cheeks. The tenderness that was once lost, has it finally returned? Chen Zixiu's house in the city. Chen Zixiu looked at the empty room in a daze. She got up and walked into the kitchen, and seemed to see Chu Ji busying around here. She walked into the bedroom, and seemed to recall his ferocious look that shocked her. But now he is no longer here. Liar, liar, you are all liars. Chen Zixiu overturned the table. Then he went into the kitchen and smashed all the pots, pans, and utensils that Chu Ji had used. The next day, Chen Zixiu went to work as usual. She was in a particularly bad mood today. The employees outside the office were somewhat silent. At this time, Li Yunfeng came up. Someone nearby saw Li Yunfeng, and his eyes lit up slightly. Mr. Li is here. Should we let Mr. Li go and persuade our general manager, Chen? Someone suggested. That's good. If Mr. Li comes to persuade him, Mr. Chen's mood will definitely improve, someone said. That's right. Who doesn't know what Mr. Chen thinks of Mr. Li? Hurry up, Mr. Li is going to the president's office. Chen Zixiu's secretary was pushed out at this time. Li Yunfeng said with a smile on his face, What's the matter? Mr. Li, can you go and persuade our manager, Chen? She seems to be in a bad mood today. Li Yunfeng looked towards Chen Zixiu's office and said, This is not good, right? The secretary quickly said, Mr. Li, please help us. This is also for the good of the company. Li Yunfeng reluctantly said, Okay, I'll go take a look. Li Yunfeng walked towards Chen Zixiu's office. After knocking on the door, Li Yunfeng walked into Chen Zixiu's office. Xiu, I heard that you were in a bad mood today. Did something happen? Li Yunfeng said. Chen Zixiu was sitting in her seat, pinching her forehead with her hands. Hearing Li Yunfeng's words, Chen Zixiu looked at him. Now that you're here, please sit down, Chen Zixiu said calmly. Li Yunfeng was a little stunned. He sat opposite Chen Zixiu. Tell me what's bothering you and I'll see if I can help. Li Yunfeng had a warm smile on his face. Chen Zixiu raised her head and looked at Li Yunfeng. I'm fine, there's nothing I can help with. Li Yunfeng asked, Are you sure? Chen Zixiu said, Of course, did you come to see me today specially? Li Yunfeng laughed. Xiu, you know. Okay, I know, just go ahead and do your own thing. It's not good for you to stay here for too long or there will be rumors, Chen Zixiu suddenly said. Li Yunfeng was stunned for a moment, then stood up awkwardly and said, Okay, then I won't bother you anymore. If you really have any questions, you can call me. Chapter 236. Just feed the dog with your sincerity. Li Yunfeng left Chen Zixiu's office. After walking out of the room, his face darkened. Inside the room, Chen Zixiu also frowned. She picked up her phone and made a call. I want a drink. In the bar, Chen Zixiu raised her head and finished her glass of wine. The two best friends who had accompanied her to the bar to block Chu Ji looked at each other in bewilderment. Xiu, you are trapped in love. Chen Zixiu was slightly stunned, with an irritated look on her face. Really? How is it possible? Would I, Chen Zixiu, be trapped by love? What a joke. Really? But don't you think you're acting weird now? The last time you were like this was when Li Yunfeng confessed his love to Chen Yi, right? Chen Zixiu frowned and said nothing. Is it because of Li Yunfeng this time? I heard that they are planning to get engaged. It seems to be true, asked a close friend next to her. Chen Zixiu shook her head and poured herself another glass of wine. Not because of him. Then who was it? Could it be the one you picked up? Chen Zixiu's hands suddenly stiffened. The two best friends' eyes lit up as if they had discovered a new world. Fuck, the man who can make our Zixiu drown her sorrows in alcohol. Is that guy really that charming? Chen Zixiu looked at the wine glass in front of her in a daze. The two girlfriends were more and more surprised. She wasn't like this when she was with Li Yunfeng. Something is wrong with her, it's really wrong. It seems so. At first, he was just angry because of Li Yunfeng, just like his toy was stolen. It's hard to tell how much affection he has for Li Yunfeng. But this situation is obviously not right. She is too immersed in the role. Tusk, I never thought that our famous socialite in Jinwen would actually fall in love with a man one day. Tell me, why did he lie to me and just disappear out of thin air? Chen Zixiu suddenly asked. Why else? For money. Zixiu, don't be silly, it's not worth it for a man. For money, but he returned all the money I gave him. Do you think he did it for money? Chen Zixiu asked. The two best friends were stunned. They had no idea about this kind of thing. One of the best friends seemed to be hesitant to speak, and it was obvious that they knew nothing about Chu Ji's experience. Just then there was a noise not far away. One of Chen Zixiu's best friends turned her head and was slightly stunned and said, Isn't that guy the one Zixiu picked up and brought home? Upon hearing this, Chen Zixiu suddenly raised her head and looked towards the noisy location. I saw a familiar tall and straight figure twisting the ear of a sturdy young man and walking out of the bar. Chu Ji twisted Fatty's ear and said angrily, I was wondering why you didn't go to see Grandma. So you're fooling around here. I think you deserve to be punished. Chu Ji skillfully untied his belt and held it in his hand to whip Fatty. Fatty was beaten so hard that he screamed and cried, but he didn't dare to run away. Brother, I was wrong. I'm not here to fool around. I have a job, really. Fat Fish explained. What kind of job do you do in a bar? You won't be an adult until next year. You are not allowed to enter here if you are underage. Don't you know that? If I don't give you a good beating, I don't think you will learn your lesson. The fat fish covered his butt and dodged repeatedly. There were a bunch of people watching the joke nearby. Some of them even fainted from laughing. These people all followed Fatty Yu, and they had never seen Fatty Yu so afraid of a person. Tusk, do you want to go up and help? Said a scoundrel-looking young man who was watching. That's the hall master's brother. How can you help him? Just forget I said anything. How could such an awesome person like the hall master, who can defeat more than a dozen strong men on the opposite side by himself, be so afraid of his brother? The people around shrugged. If Grandma hadn't missed you and asked me to come find you, I wouldn't have known you'd come to a place like this. Come on, follow me to see Grandma. Chu Ji was tired of fighting, so he twisted Fatty Fish and walked away. How could Fatty Fish dare to say no? Before he had walked far, Chu Ji saw a person standing in front of him. It's Chen Zixiu. Chen Zixiu just stared at Chu Ji. Her eyes gradually turned red and tears welled up in them. Then he became angry and clenched his fists. He had to teach Chu Ji a lesson today. Mr. Chen, Chu Ji spoke. Fatty was slightly stunned. Then his face turned ugly and he said, "It was their family that locked you up for 2 days." After saying that, Fatty's face was filled with anger and he said to Chen Zixiu, "What? Is it never going to end? You locked my brother up for 2 days and now you're looking for trouble again." Upon hearing this, Chen Zixiu looked at Fatty in astonishment. "What did you say?" "So, didn't you hear clearly? Your Chen family took my brother to the police station and detained him for 2 days on the charge of trespassing. Don't say you didn't know. Why did my brother go to your house? It was for you. Why did your family accuse him of trespassing? Why are you coming to our house today? Do you really think we are afraid of you?" Chen Zixiu looked at Chu Ji suddenly and asked in a trembling voice, "Is what he said true?" Chu Ji said, "It doesn't matter. I can understand your family's thoughts. Let's not discuss this issue, shall we?" "No, why? Why would they do this?" Chen Zixiu couldn't accept it. "Every parent wants their children to live a better life. This is understandable. I believe you will understand. Mr. Chen, I can only say sorry for what happened between us. After all, I slept with her, and it would be a bit unkind to just walk away now. What, just an apology and that's it? Do you know what I lost? Or do you also think that I'm a fickle person who doesn't care about feelings?" Chen Zixiu looked at Chu Ji angrily. Chu Ji quickly said, "No, I really didn't mean that." "Follow me," said Chen Zixiu. Chu Ji shook his head and said, "Mr. Chen, there is a huge gap between us. This gap cannot be made up in a short period of time. I still say the same thing, I'm sorry." Chu Ji took a step forward and tried to avoid Chen Zixiu. Chen Zixiu suddenly reached out and grabbed Chu Ji's hand. "Can you please not leave?" Chu Ji broke free from Chen Zixiu's hand and said, "I don't even know my own origins. I can't give you what you deserve. I'm sorry." At this moment, 2 women suddenly came out and blocked Chu Ji. "Haha, if you don't accept my toast, you'll have to drink for punishment. You really think our Zixiu is easy to talk to, right?" They were Chen Zixiu's 2 best friends. "Do you know how sad our Zixiu was because you left without saying goodbye? Is that all you need to say is sorry?" "That's right, I'm telling you that you belong to our family now. If you want to leave, you have to pay back your debt. Do you think you can pay it back?" Fatty Fish, who was standing next to him, found it somewhat amusing to see Chu Ji being surrounded by 2 women. "I want to laugh, but I dare not." At this time, he saw his subordinates waving at him. Fatty left Chuj behind without any loyalty and walked away quietly. Chu Ji was a little overwhelmed at this time. He was forced to retreat again and again by the 2 women. At this moment, Chen Zixiu suddenly said, "That's enough. Let him go. Just treat it as if all my sincerity has been thrown away." Chapter 237, Taking Advantage. Chen Zixiu said and turned away. Chu Ji looked at Chen Zixiu's back, frowning and remaining silent for a moment. Looking at Chen Zixiu's lonely back, Chu Ji suddenly asked, "Do you need me to cook for you tomorrow?" Chen Zixiu suddenly paused. She turned back abruptly, and the tears in her eyes finally couldn't hold back and fell. Chu Ji raised his eyebrows and said, "This doesn't look like the Mr. Chen I know." Chu Ji's eyes flickered, as if he was thinking about something. After agreeing on a time, Chu Ji still left. After Chu Ji left, Chen Zixiu's tears disappeared instantly, and a hint of cunning appeared at the corner of her mouth. "How was my performance just now?" Chen Zixiu asked. "Haha, that's good. I didn't expect this guy to be so soft-hearted. He surrendered immediately when you cried," said a close friend. Another girlfriend said, Ziu, it's hard to find someone like this nowadays. You have to seize the opportunity." "HMPH, he can't escape from my grasp. Let's go and have a drink. I'll pay for today," Chen Zixiu said in a good mood. Looking at Chen Zixiu's back, one of her besties asked, "Do you think she was really pretending just now? Do you think I'm blind? It's over, Zixiu is really trapped this time. But Chu Ji is really good. Not to mention his handsome appearance, he is also kind-hearted and responsible, which is rare and precious. Ziu is so lucky that she can find a treasure by just picking up anyone she wants. Just pick it up casually. Do you think Zixiu is that kind of person? Didn't that Chin guy also want to take advantage of Zixiu? Didn't he fail in the end? Chu Ji is a little speechless now. Why did he agree to it so easily? The Chen family has already warned him that if the other party finds out that he is still pestering Chen Zixiu, they will probably give him a hard time. "Forget it, let's take it one step at a time. After all, I owe her," Chu Ji said. Chen Zixiu returned to her home. At this time, he was humming a song. When she arrived at the gate of the community, she suddenly saw Li Yunfeng. Chen Zixiu frowned. Li Yunfeng was slightly stunned when he saw Chen Zixiu and said, "Zixiu, I didn't expect to meet you here." Chen Zixiu said, "I didn't expect you to be here." Li Yunfeng said, "I sent a friend over here for a business dinner." Chen Zixiu nodded. This was nothing new. This community was also a famous, wealthy community with many big and small bosses. "Oh, then you should go back and rest early," Chen Zixiu said, and I was about to enter the community. There was some surprise in Li Yunfeng's eyes. He didn't get the results he wanted. "Ziu, I've always heard that you are here, but I've never visited you before. Now that I meet you today, why don't you let me go up and sit with you?" Li Yunfeng said. Chen Zixiu looked at Li Yunfeng suspiciously and said, "It's getting late now. It's not appropriate for you to go up. Also, does my sister know that you are here?" Li Yunfeng's face stiffened slightly when he heard this. Then he smiled and said, "In that case, I won't bother you anymore." Li Yunfeng turned his head, and his face suddenly became gloomy. If it were in the past, how could Chen Zixiu let him go? He knew clearly how madly Chen Zixiu pursued him in the past. Chen Zixiu didn't think much about it, although she didn't know why she rejected Li Yunfeng. But she resisted in her heart. After returning home, Chen Zixiu turned around and suddenly thought of something. She took out Chu Ji's clothes from the sofa. The clothes were torn to pieces. Chen Zixiu said angrily, "Humph, you are smart." Then she, who had never washed clothes before, filled a basin with water and gently scrubbed Chu Ji's coat. Li Yunfeng was talking to a few friends at this time. "Yunfeng, didn't you swear that you would be able to take down Chen Zixiu today?" "Why not?" "That's right, you said she would definitely invite you up there. How come you didn't even finish your sentence?" "It shouldn't be like that. I remember Chen Zixiu was your loyal licker. If it weren't for Zhang Yi, you would have taken her down long ago. Chen Zixiu has a nice figure, but it's a pity that she is an illegitimate daughter. Our Yunfeng is ambitious. Why would he waste his time on an illegitimate daughter?" A man nearby came up to Li Yunfeng and said, "Brother, you have been pursuing Chen Yi for quite some time. Have you succeeded in getting her?" Li Yunfeng raised his lips slightly and said, "It's only a matter of time. Then there is nothing left. I'm not saying anything bad about you, Yunfeng, but you're too slow. Be careful that someone might steal your money. Who else do you think is worthy of Chen Yi and Jinwen besides me?" "That's right. Among the younger generation, if you claim to be second, no one dares to claim to be first. Besides, the Chen family also tacitly approves of your relationship." Li Yunfeng smiled complacently. However, thinking of how Chen Zixiu had rejected him without hesitation just now, Li Yunfeng's face became gloomy again. After Li Yunfeng walked out of the bar, he did not go back, but waited at the gate of Chen Zixiu's community. In the early morning of the next day, he saw a man walking quickly into the community. "Is it him?" Li Yunfeng hurriedly got out of the car and followed Chu Ji. Then he saw Chu Ji striding into the door of Chen Zixiu's unit. Soon after, a light came on in Chen Zixiu's kitchen. Li Yunfeng clenched his fists, his eyes filled with a hint of resentment. Chu Ji came to Chen Zixiu's kitchen, feeling a little confused. Because there are no kitchen utensils in the kitchen, Chu Ji scratched his head and wondered how to cook without kitchen utensils. How could he know that Chen Zixiu smashed all the kitchen utensils because she was angry with him? Chu Ji had no choice but to go to the supermarket to buy some kitchen utensils. When he returned to Chen Zixiu's room again, a fair and delicate body appeared in his eyes. Chen Zixiu didn't expect Chu Ji to come back at this time, and the two looked at each other. Chen Zixiu glared at Chu Ji and said, "Haven't you seen it before?" Chu Ji quickly turned his head and said, "Sorry, that's a bit presumptuous." "Humph, what's there to be embarrassed about? You've already played around with it and taken a few glances. What can I do to you?" After saying that, Chen Zixiu actually moved her legs and walked towards him. Chu Ji licked his lips, feeling a little angry. He put down the kitchen utensils and strode towards Chen Zixiu. There was panic in Chen Zixiu's eyes, as well as a hint of longing. Chuj picked her up, went back into the house, and put underwear on her. Then he walked out of the room without blushing or beating his heart. Chen Zixiu was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. Hee, it's not like you're not interested in me," she whispered. After dinner, Chu Ji said to Chen Zixiu, "I want to borrow your car." Chen Zixiu was overjoyed when she heard this and took out a few keys from the drawer next to her and said, "Open whichever one you want." Chapter 238, Chen Yi's Doubts. Chu Ji chose the most low-key BMW from among them. "It's him. Why don't you drive my car? The one you have is too flashy. This one is great." Chen Zixiu didn't ask him what he was driving to do. And Chu Ji didn't say what he was going to do. Chu Ji took the car keys and left. Chen Zixiu was very dissatisfied, not because he was driving, but because he was not driving. Am I not sexy enough? How tasteless, Chen Zixiu muttered. But thinking that he finally came back to her, she felt that nothing mattered anymore. No one knew that at this time, on the other side of the ocean, an emerging piano brand called Esti had obtained EU quality approval. Because the piano is exquisitely made, and its tone is comparable to that of international brands, it has also received support from some people. However, the price of this piano is very high, not inferior to those big brands, so the sales volume is not very high. Brother, why are our products so expensive? The cost is obviously not high. Fat Fish was a little confused. Haha, of course it's to make a lot of money. You don't have to worry about it. I know what I'm doing, Chu Ji said. Fat Fish nodded and stopped talking. Chu Ji looked at Fatty and suddenly asked, "You never cared about this. Why did you suddenly ask this question today?" Fatty Fish showed a trace of panic on his face and said, "Really? I'm just asking casually to avoid you saying that I don't care about the factory and just hang out outside." Chu Ji looked at him suspiciously. Fatty said with a wandering look, "I'll go out for a walk, brother, you are busy." Fat Yu picked up Chu Ji's car keys and left. He had just learned to drive, and Chu Ji's BMW became his exclusive car. Chu Ji didn't care. He watched the car leave the company. Chu Ji returned to his office and tapped his fingers lightly on the desk. At this time, they were in a private room in a bar. Fatty walked in. When people around saw Fat Fish, they all lowered their heads and called him Brother Fish. Although he is very young, a newcomer asked the person next to him, "He is so young, why do we have to call him Brother Yu?" "Shut up, you want to die?" "I won't mention that Brother Yu is the boss's savior, but did you know that Brother Yu single-handedly defeated the boss's mortal enemy? The reason why our gang is developing so fast is because of Brother Yu, who dares to fight and kill. Do you know what Brother Yu's nickname is now?" "What? Devil Fish?" "Hiss, Brother Yu is the manta ray." "How come you've heard of it too?" "I've heard of this name before I entered the industry. It's a strong rise. Of course we idiots know it. So be careful when you speak in front of Brother Yu in the future. Brother Yu is now the head of the hall, and his status is only second to the big boss. Maybe Brother Yu will be the next boss of our Julian gang in the future." At this time, the middle-aged man in the private room saw Fatty Fish and laughed. "Come here, Fish. Sit next to me." Fatty sat down next to the middle-aged man and said, "Brother, why are you looking for me so urgently?" "Haha, isn't this the boss of the Hu gang coming over? He insists on seeing you. Is there nothing I can do about it?" Fat Fish narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the bald man opposite him who had a scar on his head. "Brother Yu, I came here because I admire your name, so I came here specially to seek refuge with you," said the bald man. Fatty stood up, picked up a bottle of beer on the table, and hit the other person on the head. Bang, the wine bottle broke, and the place became quiet instantly. The middle-aged man's eyes flickered as well, but he didn't say anything. The bald man was so frightened that he covered his head with blood flowing from it. "Brother Yu, why are you doing this?" The bald man looked at Fat Fish in confusion and fear. "Fuck, if you can't talk, then don't talk. My big brother is here, so why would it be my turn? If you want to go to my big brother, then you're going to go to my big brother. Don't use my name." What the other party said was clearly to deceive Fatty. This is to tell the other party that Fat Fish's prestige is now higher than the boss. What do you think Fat Fish's boss would think at this time? Fatty didn't know these principles before, but now there is a Chu Ji behind him. Fatty didn't know how much Chu Ji knew about him, but he didn't know when Chu Ji started to tell him about the ways of the world. Fat Fish is not stupid, so he learns quickly. As soon as the bald guy opened his mouth this time, Fatty knew that this guy had bad intentions, or that this guy was simply his boss testing him. Sure enough, seeing the solemn atmosphere here, the middle-aged man laughed and said, "Okay, we are brothers from now on, so just talk it out and don't hurt the harmony." The bald man quickly backed down. He was indeed a little afraid of Fatty's ferocity. Fat Fish narrowed his eyes and let the matter go. Soon he was chatting and laughing with the bald man, looking like a harmless person. "Fish, what happened to the thing I asked you to ask? Why doesn't your brother lower the price and increase sales? This way, the factory's profits will increase significantly." Fatty Fish said, "I'm really not as good as my brother in business. Don't worry, brother, I will be responsible if the factory loses money. We are brothers, so why should we be responsible or not? I feel relieved since I have handed over the factory to you." It's only because your factory's profits are getting higher and higher and occupy a large part of our club's income that I am concerned about it. Don't let your imagination run wild. Fatty Fish said, "Brother, the factory was originally given by you. As long as you ask, you can hire someone to take over the factory at will." "Look, you're saying something awkward again. Let's not talk about this anymore and drink." At this time, a young man walked in from outside the door. He said to the middle-aged man, "Boss, there is a man named Zhao from Jinghai who wants to see you, boss." "Zhao?" It is said that the Zhao family was once the richest family in Jinghai. "Oh, it's the Zhao family. Are they going to make a comeback? Why are they looking for me instead of going to Jinghai?" "Okay, let's make an appointment for me to go meet them and see what they want. Fish, you come with me too." Fatty Fish said, "Okay, boss." At this time, Chen building. Chen Zixiu rarely came to Chenya's office. Chenya looked at the aggressive Chen Zixiu and asked, "What happened? You know that Chu Yuan was locked up for 2 days, right? Why didn't you tell me?" Chenya raised her eyebrows slightly with doubt and surprise in her eyes. "Locked up for 2 days. That's right. If I hadn't happened to meet him, I wouldn't know about the good things my family did. Do you know about this?" Chen Zixiu said angrily. Chenya's eyes flickered, and then she said, "I didn't know about this at first, but I got the news when he was taken to the police station." Chen Zixiu's face looked extremely ugly. "So it was indeed made at home? Why?" Chapter 239, The Zhao Family Visitors. Chenya said, "You should ask Dad, but Dad is probably doing this for your own good. Although Chu Yuan is good, his identity and background are unclear. Do you think our family would like such a person?" "That's my fact, not the Chen family's. Besides, when has he ever cared about me? I finally found someone I like and he came out to ruin it. What does he mean? Or is this your intention?" Chenya looked at Chen Zixiu and said speechlessly, "Sister, are you so hostile to me? Why should I oppose your business? Shouldn't I be happy that you are marrying someone with an unknown background?" Chen Zixiu's face froze slightly when she heard this. "It must be your father's intention. Why did he do this?" Chenya said, "I don't know about that. Maybe he's afraid that you've been cheated." Chen Zixiu asked, "I was cheated?" "That's right. Dad may think that Chu Yuan has an unknown origin and is plotting against you, so he gave him a warning," Chenya said. "Warning? A warning means locking him up in the police station for 2 days." Chen Zixiu was dissatisfied with this explanation. Chenya was silent. Chen Zixiu snorted coldly and left. "Plotting something bad. What else does he want to plot? I am his," Chen Zixiu muttered. Unfortunately, Chenya didn't hear it. Not far from Chenya's president's office, she saw Li Yunfeng walking towards her. Li Yunfeng said with a warm smile on his face, "Ziu Ziu." Chen Zixiu nodded and walked past him. From beginning to end, Chen Zixiu never even looked at Li Yunfeng. The smile on Li Yunfeng's face was a little stiff. He pushed open the door of Chenya's office and walked in. Chenya looked up at Li Yunfeng, who walked in, and said calmly, "Is your company not very busy recently?" Li Yunfeng was stunned and said, "Not bad." Chenya said, "Your career is still in its rising stage. You should still pay more attention to your company's affairs." Li Yunfeng said indifferently, "I have sorted out the company's affairs. The vice president can take charge of the work. I really don't need to do anything more." Then Li Yunfeng said, "Chenya, should we go choose a wedding dress?" Chenya looked up at Li Yunfeng and said, "There's no rush for this matter." Li Yunfeng was stunned again. "Chenya, did something happen?" Li Yunfeng asked. "No, I'm fine. What are you talking about?" Chenya asked. Li Yunfeng said, "Chenya, don't you want to marry me?" Chenya said, "I have no plans to get married yet." Li Yunfeng was a little confused. Chenya didn't have this attitude before. What happened today? Did someone say something? "Yunfeng, I have a big project to deal with recently. This matter is very important. I'm afraid I don't have much time to accompany you. Please don't come to see me too often recently." Li Yunfeng was completely dumbfounded this time. Could it be that his little trick was discovered? "But I did it very secretly, and the other party couldn't possibly know it. Chenyi, is there any misunderstanding between us?" "You've thought too much, Yunfeng. I've been really busy lately. Zixiu's proposal involves a wide range of issues and will have a great impact on our Chen Corporation. Now this plan has been reviewed by the board of directors and has officially entered the implementation stage. As the president, I have to ensure that all aspects work together perfectly, so I will be very busy recently." Li Yunfeng finally left Chen's house. "I didn't even have the chance to have lunch with Chenyi." This made Li Yunfeng look particularly gloomy. He knew that there was a problem between him and Chenyi, and unlike any previous time, this time Chenyi did not give him a chance to appease her. Li Yunfeng went back with a gloomy face. When I returned to my company, my assistant came out to greet me. Mr. Li, this international trade fair will start tomorrow. Do you want to go there in person? Li Yunfeng said impatiently. The vice president can make the decision on these minor matters. The assistant hesitated to speak, but still nodded in agreement. When Chu Ji learned that Li Yunfeng would not attend the trade fair, a sneer appeared on his face. At the same time, Fatty and his boss went to a club. When I arrived at the designated room, I found that someone was already inside. There was a handsome young man with gloomy eyes and a middle-aged man. Through the conversation, Fat Fish learned that the young man opposite was called Zhao Bo. The middle-aged man next to him is called Zhao Shi. Haha, I've heard of Boss Mo's reputation in Jinghai. Zhao Shi laughed. Boss Zhao, I heard about your story. Why don't you stay in Jinghai? Why do you come to my small piece of land? Said Fatty Fish's boss, Boss Mo. Haha, this time we want to cooperate with Boss Mo. Zhao Shi went straight to the point. Boss Mo narrowed his eyes and said, I know the strength of the Zhao family. As the saying goes, a lean camel is bigger than a horse. We don't think I have anything worthy of Boss Zhao's attention. Hey, you can't say that. Boss Mo is the local boss of Jinwen. Even if we have some strength in Jinghai, in Jinwen, you, Boss Mo, still have the final say. The young man named Zhao Bo spoke at this time. Fatty looked at the other person and felt that the young man in front of him was not a good person. Boss Mo laughed. It seems that this matter is Jinwen's business. Tell me about it. The young man pushed a box over. Fatty took it, opened it, and saw that it was full of banknotes. Boss Mo narrowed his eyes slightly and said, It seems that this matter is not simple. This is just a deposit. After the deal is done, the other half will be given to you, Boss Mo, Zhao Bo said. You haven't told me what the matter is yet, so I don't dare to accept the money, Boss Mo said, suppressing the greed in his heart. The young man then took out 2 photos and handed them over. I don't want the 2 women in the photo to return to Jinghai. They are both beautiful women. If Boss Mo is willing, he can stay and have fun with them. Zhao Bo laughed lewdly. On it were photos of Zhu Moyu and Su Wan. The 2 women are very beautiful and make people salivate. Boss Mo's eyes also lit up slightly. It is rare to see a beauty of this level. Who are these 2? Zhao Bo said. Don't worry about this, Boss Mo. As long as you can successfully capture them, we will take care of the rest. I guarantee that you will have no worries. Boss Mo narrowed his eyes slightly and said, You are giving me money and beautiful women. I don't think I have any reason to refuse. Zhao Bo and Zhao Shi looked at each other, then looked at Boss Mo and laughed. Then let's have a happy cooperation. Boss Mo raised his glass. Just when Zhao Bo and the other were about to leave, Zhao Bo suddenly returned and took out another photo and said, There is also this person. If Boss Mo sees him, I don't want him to leave Jinwen alive. Chapter 240, The Unconfident Li Yunfeng. Boss Mo took the photo and handed it to Fatty Fish next to him. Don't worry, I will give you an explanation, but this is a different price, said Boss Mo. Zhao Bo narrowed his eyes slightly, then smiled and said, Okay. No one else noticed that Fatty's eyes became dangerous as he looked at the person in the photo, because the person in the photo was none other than Chu Ji. Fatty calmly put away Chu Ji's photo and looked at Zhao Bo, Boss Mo, and others. After sending Zhao Bo and the others away, Boss Mo said to Fatty Fish, Yuzi, I'll leave this matter to you. Bring the woman back to me and you can deal with the man directly. Fatty smiled and said, Okay, boss, I promise to complete the task. Fatty sent Boss Mo away, then his face turned livid and he said to someone beside him, Go, keep an eye on those 2 Zhaos. After giving the order, Fatty immediately came to Chu Ji. Brother, have you offended anyone in Jinghai? Fatty asked. You know, I don't remember anything, Chu Ji said. Today 2 people named Zhao came over and said they wanted to deal with you. Fatty quickly recounted what happened today. When he looked up, he saw Chu Ji staring at him with a bad face. Sure enough, I felt that something was wrong with you. You actually joined the underworld? I will punish you. Chu Ji untied his belt skillfully. Fatty was so scared that he shuddered and said, Brother, this is not what we are discussing now. Ouch, brother, I was wrong. After a burst of chaos, Chu Ji became quiet, and Fat Yu stood in front of Chu Ji like a child who had done something wrong, not daring to move. Chu Ji said at this time, The other party actually wants to kill me, so the situation between me and the other party is a fight to the death. It seems that I must obtain more information. Fatty Fish said, Brother, what should I do now? Quit the underworld, said Chu Ji. Brother, you know it's the underworld and you taught them a lesson at the beginning. Do you think I still have a way out? Fat Fish said. Chu Ji's expression was cold. Once he embarked on this path, it would be almost impossible to quit. Fatty is a close confidant of Boss Mo and has a lot of evidence against Boss Mo. Fat Fish can quit if he wants, unless he turns into a corpse. Chuji thought about it. His eyes became sharper than ever before. Since I can't withdraw, I can only think of other ways. Chuji looked at Fatty and smiled sinisterly. Do you know there's a phrase called killing someone with a borrowed knife? Fatty shuddered when he met Chuji's gaze. I feel like my brother is going to cause trouble. Xiaobo and Zhao, she checked into a hotel in Jinwen. Xiaobo stood by the window of the hotel, looking at the night view of Jinwen and said, Uncle, everything is going well now. The Su family is the easiest to control without Su Ruoxian, and there is only Su Wan left. As long as Boss Mo can deal with Su Wan, the Su family will be like a rhinoceros without horns, at our mercy. Zhao Shi said, You did a good job this time. You used this trick of borrowing a knife to kill someone very well. That Zhang Heng is a fool. Now the Zhang family has become our possession. If we swallow up the Su family next, it will be just a matter of time for our Zhao family to restore its former glory. Then Zhao Shi said, But Chu Ji has already been fed to the fish. Why did you ask Boss Mo to find someone? Isn't it unnecessary? I'm just in case. Su Wan has found Jin Wan and must have received some news. We are also making preparations for both scenarios. Zhao Shi nodded and said, Let's wait in Jinwen for a few days. It won't be too late for us to return to Jinghai after we have definite news. By the way, I have an old friend here too. If he can replace Boss Mo, we will have more forces to rely on. Chu Ji came to Chen Zixiu's house, as usual in the evening. Chen Zixiu did her housework happily, then went to the bathroom to take a shower. She could hear faint singing. You know what, Chen Zixiu's singing is really good. It sounds nice. Chu Ji made 2 simple appetizers for Chen Zixiu in the kitchen. Then serve her the porridge. Chen Zixiu came out at this time, wrapped only in a bath towel. Looking at the busy Chu Ji, her eyes were filled with honey. As expected, an accident happened. Chen Zixiu, who was barefoot, slipped and fell backwards. Chu Ji stretched out his hand and held a delicate body in his arms. Chu Ji's breathing became a little rapid, his eyes red. You asked for this. Then it was not until midnight that Chen Zixiu came out hungry to look for food. Otherwise, she really didn't have the strength to keep up. The next day, everyone in the office was amazed at Chen Zixiu, who was charming and in a very good mood. Oh my God, Mr. Chen looks so good, doesn't he? Is it the nourishment of love? I wonder who has gained the favor of our President Chen. Could it be that Chu Yuan? Li Yunfeng looked at Chen Zixiu, who walked into the office humming a song and never even looked at him from beginning to end, with a terribly gloomy face. He walked towards the president's office, but before he reached the door, Chen Yi's secretary came out and said, Mr. Li, Mr. Chen is a little busy right now. If you don't have anything important to do, why don't you come another day? Li Yunfeng's face suddenly froze. Then he forced a smile and said, Okay, I'll come another day. Watching Li Yunfeng leave, the secretary turned around and returned to Chen Yi's office. Mr. Chen, he's gone. Chen Yi nodded. Mr. Chen, did anything happen between you and Mr. Li? Chen Yi said, It's nothing. Some people, when you are sincere to them, they play tricks on you. Do you think you can still be friends with such people? The secretary said nothing. Li Yunfeng walked out of Chen's house with a gloomy face. He took out his cell phone and made a call. A bar. Li Yunfeng was drinking with 2 close friends. You said there was a problem in your relationship with Chen Yi. Yes, she hasn't seen me for 2 days. Tusk, that's weird. Another best friend said, Think about it, maybe you did something wrong and offended her. Li Yunfeng narrowed his eyes slightly and said, Maybe it has something to do with that guy called Chu Yuan. Chu Yuan? Last time she asked me to release Chu Yuan, but I didn't do as she said. Could it be that she knew about that? Li Yunfeng said. Not only did she not follow Chen Yi's arrangements, she also used her influence to extend Guan Chu's time. After this incident, Chen Yi's attitude towards him changed. Tusk, Yunfeng, why did you do that? Are you jealous of that Chu Yuan? Another close friend asked. Yunfeng, do you think he will be a threat to you? Li Yunfeng didn't say anything. At this moment, the 2 best friends next to him looked at each other and showed a look of sudden realization. Because the moment Li Yunfeng did that, it meant that he regarded Chu Ji as an enemy who could threaten him, and he was no longer confident. Chapter 240, Chu Ji's Methods. Just then Li Yunfeng's phone rang. Mr. Li, this is bad. The pianos produced by the Yashi company that use our parts have announced a significant price reduction at the trade show. The price of their pianos is almost twice that of ours. and many buyers who ordered our pianos have returned them. What? Li Yunfeng's face suddenly changed. Uses the same sound accessories. It has a beautiful shape, and its sound quality has been certified by international quality. Coupled with the high positioning price of the SD brand not long ago, it has already secured its position as a high-end product. In this case, SD's price reduction proves that the pianos sold by SD are still profitable. Then isn't Yuyin, which sells at a higher price, deceiving consumers? In this case, people label Yuyin as high-priced and low-spec, and the impact cannot be said to be small. If something goes wrong, Yuyin Company's reputation will suffer a fatal blow. Reputation is the key to survival in the international market. Li Yunfeng returned to the company with a grim face. The assistant came in and said, "Mr. Li, according to our calculations, the other party is selling the product at a loss, which is a serious disruption to the market." Li Yunfeng sneered, "They are simply courting death. Let the Ministry of Justice prosecute them." "Yes, Mr. Li." At the same time, the news here also reached Chen. As the president, Chen Yi naturally has his own channels, which is something Chen Zixiu cannot compare with. When he found out that the person behind Yashi was Chu Ji, his face was full of surprise. "It's him, it's actually him. Why did he do this?" Chen Yi murmured in a low voice. She became more and more interested in Chu Ji. But she wasn't going to intervene. Li Yunfeng did something bad in the past, so couldn't people take revenge on him openly? But she didn't know what the other party would do, because it seemed like an act that would harm others and not benefit herself. At the same time, the head of the Chen family also received the news. He was stunned for a long time. Okay, this guy is not simple. Every step he takes has a method, but why did he take this step? Yuyin will definitely sue. The other party is clearly disrupting the market order, unless... When the head of the Chen family thought of a possibility, his eyes suddenly lit up. At this time, the housekeeper came over and said, "Chairman, do you want to continue to warn the guy who approached the second young lady?" The head of the Chen family said at this time, "No, I think I was too arbitrary at the beginning. Let's wait and see if he can survive this lawsuit." Chu Ji came to Chen Zixiu's house, as usual that day. Then he found that Chen Zixiu was looking at him with strange eyes. Chu Ji looked at himself and asked, "Is there something on my body, or is there something on my face?" Chen Zixiu shook her head and said, "No, you're fine." Chu Zhedao shook his head, feeling a little puzzled. Chen Zixiu stood up and hugged Chu Ji's waist from behind. At the same time, in a manner, Boss Mo looked at Fatty and asked, "How are you doing with the things I told you to do?" Fatty's eyes flickered. "Brother, I found the person, but..." Boss Mo looked at Fatty and asked, "But what?" Thinking of Zhu Moyu and Su Wan's figures, Boss Mo felt itchy in his heart. "Hurry up and send them to me," said Mo Leado. There was a sharp gleam in Fatty's eyes. He continued, "Boss, but I have discovered something while monitoring the Zhao family. They seem to be secretly connected with the Shuitu gang, and I have also found out that the identities of those two women are not simple. Do you think this is a way for them to kill someone with a borrowed knife? The leader of the Shuitu gang is a sinister and cunning guy. If we are not careful, we might be bitten hard by him." Boss Mo narrowed his eyes slightly, and his look became thoughtful. At this time, someone came over and said to Fatty Fish, "Brother Yu, we just got news that the Zhao family will meet with the leader of the Shuitu gang tonight." Fatty Fish asked, "Have you arranged everything?" "It's already been arranged. We've bought the most advanced eavesdropping equipment." Fatty nodded, then said to Mo Leado, "Boss, the woman can't run away. We might as well find out the relationship between the Zhao family and the Shuitu gang first. If they set a trap for us, we will be prepared." Boss Mo looked at Fatty Fish and said, "Fish, you are growing very fast." Fatty lowered his head and said, "Boss, I've been with you for so long, and it's time for me to make some progress. For your safety, I can never be too careful." Boss Mo patted Fatty's shoulder. Soon it was evening. Fatty and Boss Mo came to the outside of a club. They were in a car at this time. Boss Mo put on headphones and heard the conversation between the Zhao family and the leader of the Shuitu gang. "Haha, long time no see, bro. I heard you're not having a good time in Jinwen. What? Now that Boss Mo has risen, your situation has become even worse. I can give you a chance, but it depends on whether you can seize it. What? Each of those two women is not simple. All you have to do is..." Outside the guild hall, Boss Mo's face turned pale. The Zhao family is indeed insidious. Someone nearby said, "It turns out that the Zhao family and the Shuitu gang knew each other from the beginning. He didn't go to the Shuitu gang, but came to us. It seems that he came to set a trap for us." Boss Mo said in a cold tone, "You are taking me for a fool. Fish, gather some people. I will make sure that the Shuitu gang and the 2 members of the Zhao family cannot leave here tonight. Fatty nodded, picked up his phone, and made a few calls. Zhao Bo went to the toilet. After he went to the toilet to flush the toilet, someone suddenly came up to him and put a note into his pocket. Zhao Bo was a little stunned. He took out the note and looked at it, his face suddenly darkening. He hurried back to the private room and whispered a few words in Zhao Shi's ear. They hurriedly walked out of the private room. At the same time, the leader of the Shuitu gang also received news that his territory was attacked by Boss Mo's subordinates. The leader of the Shuitu gang was furious and left with his men. I ran into the fat fish head-on. Fatty smiled coldly. The police chief of Jinwen was scratching his head again today. All police forces were dispatched. Then a shocking news came that Boss Mo had died. He was killed by the Shuitu gang. When Boss Mo had an absolute advantage, someone took advantage of him and killed him. But the Shuitu gang was also finished, as all its territories were occupied by others. At the same time, a car accident occurred on the Jinwen Bridge. A young man from out of town ran into the police station and sought shelter. At the location of the car accident, a middle-aged man died. His name seemed to be Zhao Shi, and he was from Jinghai. The young man's arm was also deformed and looked very miserable. He said it was not a car accident, but someone wanted to kill them. But the police said it was just a normal car accident. Zhao Bo screamed in the police station, spat out a mouthful of blood, and fainted. Chapter 242, I Do. This incident caused a great response. After losing Boss Mo, the forces are beginning to stir. At this time, a hall master nicknamed Devil Fish rose up strongly, suppressed those forces that were ready to make moves in one fell swoop, and became the new leader of Boss Mo's forces. Because this fatty is very good at fighting, that's not the main point. The main thing is that this guy is very rich. The factory that Boss Mo gave to Fatty is now making a lot of money. And the streets under the charge of Fat Fish are the most profitable, because no one dares to cause trouble in the areas under Fat Fish's charge. These are Fat Fish's capital, and they are capital that cannot be replaced by others. So Fat Fish doesn't need to announce it himself. A large number of people are willing to join Fat Fish. Fatty directly carried out a major internal purge and completely took control of the power left behind by Boss Mo. Then Fat Fish met with the police chief of Jinwen as soon as possible. The social unrest soon subsided. The police chief praised Fat Fish very much, which further consolidated Fat Fish's position. Fatty Fish came to Chu Ji at this time. "Brother, you are killing 3 birds with 1 stone." Fatty looked at Chu Ji flatteringly. Chu Ji's face did not show any joy, but he said in a slightly serious tone, "What do you mean by killing several birds with 1 stone? It's nothing but human greed. If anyone had stopped, it wouldn't have come to this." "Brother, you don't look very happy." Chu Ji said, "Yes, my original intention was to kill the 2 Zhaos directly, but they received the news and left early. It seems that there is another force involved. But this force doesn't seem to have any hostility towards you or me. It simply helped the Zhao family but didn't completely save them. It's very strange." Fatty Fish was slightly surprised. "Brother, are you saying that there is another force that we don't know about that is involved in this matter?" Chu Ji touched his chin and nodded. "Yes, this force should not be big, otherwise you would not be unaware of it, but it is very powerful. It is not easy for it to let someone go in the hands of your people." At this time, we were in a hotel in Jinwen. Su Wan shook the wine glass, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Aj seems to have become much more decisive. If my sister hadn't been relying on the Zhao family to control overseas forces, I would have found a way to kill that guy myself. What a pity, it seems, I can only find another opportunity to kill that guy. At this time, there was a knock on the door, and Yue came out in casual clothes. The graceful figure made Su Wan's eyes light up. As a woman who has been exercising for a long time, her figure is simply impeccable. "Hasn't Wan Shu already told you about his situation? Why haven't you gone to find him yet?" "That is, Wan Shu gave me the news in advance, otherwise." "Otherwise what?" Yue asked. "Otherwise you will kill that Zhao Bo." Su Wan was slightly stunned. Yue sneered and said, "Don't forget who I am. You'd better not let me catch you, otherwise I won't be polite to you." Su Wan looked at Yue with dangerous eyes. "Are you threatening me or warning me?" "Both. You'd better not get caught by me," Yue said. Su Wan sneered. "What?" At this time, Chu Ji and Fatty Fish continued their conversation, and Chu Ji said, "You can handle the rest yourself. I will have a lawsuit next." "Lawsuit?" Fatty was a little surprised. "What lawsuit? Did my case implicate you?" Chu Ji said. It's none of your business and it's not a big deal. It's already been arranged and you can't interfere. What you need to do now is to stabilize the internal situation, then transform. Seeing Chu Ji's calmness, Fatty Yu breathed a sigh of relief and said, I understand, brother. I'll go get things done. Chu Ji waved his hand. Fat Fish turned and left. When I walked out of the office, I saw Zhu Moyu. Hello, sister-in-law, said Fatty Fish. Zhu Moyu has rosy cheeks and is beautiful and charming. It seems that my sister-in-law really appreciates this sentence. Fatty Fish walked out of the company, turned his head and touched his chin and said, It seems that Dr. Chin is also my sister-in-law. Is the one from the Chen family also my sister-in-law? My brother is really awesome, Fat Fish exclaimed. Soon a lawsuit began quietly. As the boss, Zhu Moyu walked into the court. Looking at the boss of Esther, Li Yunfeng was a little stunned. Why did this woman do this? Until now, he still doesn't know who is the real boss behind Yashi. Until Li Yunfeng saw Chu Yuan's name on the document. Chu Yuan, it was him. Li Yunfeng's teeth were about to break. Li Yunfeng thought he was sure to win the lawsuit. But the result is that Esti has no such costs for workers at all, because Yashi and the factory were separated by Chuj from the beginning. At least there was no reputational connection, although everyone knew that all the orders received by the factory were provided by Esti. But the reputation factory was only doing orders for Esti and had no employment relationship with the company. This means that Esti does not need to pay workers. This is Esti's profit. Even though it is very small, it is still profit. Therefore, the charges brought by Li Yunfeng against Esti are not established. Esti did not maliciously disrupt the market order. It was just that the profits were relatively low. The lawsuit was fought twice, but the result will not change. Yugen lost and lost decisively. There were also disagreements within Yugen. Someone suggested cooperating with Esti to reduce production costs, but this means that Li Yunfeng has to bow to Chu Ji. This also means that Li Yunfeng is no longer the top genius in Jinghai. Chen, the head of the Chen family, couldn't help but applaud at this time. I still underestimated him. I didn't expect that the other party was so well prepared. In other words, Brother Chu Yuan had calculated from the beginning that there would be a lawsuit between him and Li Yunfeng. I really underestimated him. He took every step carefully and pushed Li into a dead end without making any noise. It was really a good move. The housekeeper said, Master, it seems that the person who provided the plan to the second young lady was probably this Chu Yuan. The head of the Chen family nodded and then fell into thought. Soon Chen Yi and Chen Zixiu also got the news. Chen Yi was stunned for a while. Chen Zixiu was extremely surprised. Chu Ji's rise has completely shut up Chen. Let's see who dares to say that Chu Ji is a gigolo in the future. He is the one who defeated Li Yunfeng, the leader of the most outstanding young generation in Jinwen. If he is a gigolo, then what is his defeated opponent Li Yunfeng? Chen Zixiu's best friend was invited to celebrate, but not in a bar but at her home. Ziu, why don't you go to the bar? It's so boring here, said a close friend. He doesn't like places like bars, Chen Zixiu answered as a matter of course. The two best friends looked at each other and shrugged helplessly. Ziu, you're done. You've been captured by him. I do, Chen Zixiu said proudly. Chapter 243. You are not qualified to be superior to me. At this time, the door opened and Chu Ji walked in. Looking at the people in the room, Chu Ji was surprised and then calmed down. Hello, Chu Ji greeted them. They were familiar faces. After all, he had been blocked by them twice. Looking at Chu Ji's calm and handsome face, they seemed to understand why Chen Zixiu was so obsessed with him. Not only is he handsome, he is also talented. He even surpassed the best of the younger generation in Jinwen. Is this guy too outstanding? Will he be punished by God? After seeing Chu Ji's cooking skills and his unintentional concern for Chen Zixiu, the two besties felt that Chen Zixiu's capture was not unjust. Who can withstand this? Different from the joyous atmosphere here, Li Yunfeng was on the verge of exploding. He tilted his head back, drank a glass of wine, and then threw the glass away fiercely. Bang, the wine glass hit the wall with a dull sound. Chu Yuan, very good, you are very good. I didn't expect you to be so despicable, Li Yunfeng murmured, his tone full of resentment. He is now a loser, a complete loser. He went to Chen's house. He wanted to get comfort from Chen Yi. When Chen Yi met him this time, she frowned slightly when looking at Li Yunfeng at this moment. Are you so depressed about such a small matter? The other party didn't do anything to Yugen. Cooperation between Yugen and Yashi is a good way out. Why do you refuse? Li Yunfeng looked up at Chen Yi, hoping to hear Chen Yi's comfort. But Chen Yi obviously didn't have this idea. She was just telling him a way out. But she couldn't understand his current mood. It wasn't that his company had no future, but that he had lost and had no future. He is no longer the leader of the younger generation in Jinwen. He was defeated by a man he once considered a small-time punk. The defeat was inevitable, and he was knocked from heaven into the quagmire. He lost his sense of superiority, and even the Chen family would probably consider the relationship between him and Chen Yi. The key point is that Chen Yi's attitude towards him seemed to have begun to become cold before this. This made him even more uneasy. Looking at Li Yunfeng's appearance, Chen Yixin finally softened and asked, "Is there anything I can help with?" Li Yunfeng shook his head. The situation was now a fait accompli, and no one could change the outcome. Under the leadership of the vice president, everyone in the company agreed to cooperate with Esti, but everyone could cooperate with Esti except him. Li Yunfeng walked out of Chen's building. The weather was obviously good, but he felt it was gloomy. There were sounds of laughter in the distance. Li Yunfeng turned his head and found it was Chen Zixiu. Following him was Chu Ji. At this time, Chu Ji also saw Li Yunfeng and nodded slightly to him. Li Yunfeng felt that this was a great irony, as he had never taken the other party seriously before. If it weren't for Chen Zixiu, he wouldn't even bother to remember the other person's name. I didn't expect that it was such a person who gave me a fatal blow. Chen Zixiu also noticed Chu Ji's gaze, and following his gaze, she saw Li Yunfeng. Chen Zixiu looked at Li Yunfeng with calm eyes at this time. She no longer had the same feeling as before. Only then did she realize that her family's previous feelings towards Li Yunfeng were more of a comparison between them and Chen Yi. It wasn't that she liked Li Yunfeng that much. She just wanted to use Li Yunfeng to attack Chen Yi. Now that she has Chu Ji, she finally knows what love is. Although she was also affected by alcohol at the beginning, if she didn't like him, she would not have brought him home, giving Chu Ji the opportunity to take advantage of her. Thinking of this, Chen Zixiu felt her body burning hot. Thinking of Chu Ji's brave attitude that night, she could hardly walk. At this moment, Chen Zixiu only had Chu Ji in her eyes, so she had no mood to pay attention to Li Yunfeng. So Chen Zixiu didn't even bother to say hello to Li Yunfeng, and only reluctantly entered the company after Chu Ji's signal. Li Yunfeng walked towards Chu Ji at this time. He looked at Chu Ji and said, "Do you think you won?" Chu Ji said, "There is no such thing as winning or losing. Besides, I am just trying to get some benefits from your company. I have no intention of destroying your company, so what you said is incorrect." Li Yunfeng suddenly grabbed Chu Ji's collar. "I hate your indifferent expression the most. Yes, the company will not fall because of this, but what about me? Do you think I should bow to you?" Chu Ji said, "This does not involve the question of whether to bow your head or not. Besides, why do you think cooperating with me is bowing your head? How high and mighty are you? If you felt this way before, I can tell you now that you are not nobler than me. I am just talking to you on an equal footing. If you think this is bowing your head, then I can't help it." Li Yunfeng was furious. Chu Ji's attitude made him feel like a clown. He clenched his fist suddenly and raised his hand to hit Chu Ji. At this moment, an angry voice sounded. "Li Yunfeng, what do you want to do?" Chen Zixiu ran over hurriedly, pushed Li Yunfeng away, and protected Chu Ji behind her. Everyone outside Chen's building was watching this scene. Everyone was surprised to see Chen Zixiu protecting Chu Ji. How could Chen Zixiu glare at Li Yunfeng for Chu Ji? Everyone else felt dazzled. Li Yunfeng also looked at Chen Zixiu in disbelief. Chen Zixiu said at this time, "Li Yunfeng, what do you mean? You can't stand seeing my yuan getting better, right? If you dare to touch a yuan, I will never let you go." At this time, Chu Ji gently placed his hand on Chen Zixiu's shoulder. Chen Zixiu trembled slightly. The warmth of Chu Ji's palm made her heart beat faster. Chu Ji said to Chen Zixiu, "Zixiu, this is a matter between him and me." Chen Zixiu was stunned, then stood obediently behind Chu Ji under his gaze. This scene made the people around him drop their jaws. This is not the impression they have of Chen Zixiu. In their impression, Chen Zixiu is irritable, unreasonable, and incomprehensible. But he has never been this quiet and obedient. But what do they see now? With just one sentence from Chu Ji, Chen Zixiu actually became silent like a good girl. Is this a fantasy drama? Chu Ji looked at Li Yunfeng and said, "You should know why I do this. Although I, Chu Yuan, don't know my origins, it is precisely because of this that I have no worries. But I don't think I am humble. You should be superior. When you treat me like trash and let people deal with me at will, I tell myself that I want to prove myself that I am not someone who can be trampled on by anyone. So you used such despicable means to plot against me, Li Yunfeng said. Despicable? Chu Ji laughed. From the beginning of our negotiation to the final trade show, how many chances have I given you? I just want to tell you that I have the strength to have an equal dialogue with you. But you treat our company as an insignificant little character, and you don't even take a second look at it, so I can only force you to get to know me. It's that simple. Chu Ji took a step forward and stood with his hands behind his back, saying domineeringly, I, Chu Ji, am not someone you can abuse at will, and you have no right to be superior to me. Chapter 244, Special Assessment. Everyone seemed to be meeting Chu Ji for the first time. At this moment, Chu Ji was so overbearing and arrogant that people dared not look directly at him. He is now the boss behind Esti. After cooperating with Yuyan, Esther's status will rise. More importantly, there is Chen Zixiu behind Esther. Chu Ji's future prospects are just around the corner, and Li Yunfeng is just a stepping stone for him. After Chu Ji finished speaking, he ignored Li Yunfeng. He forgot everything, including his origins. He is no longer the cautious Chu Ji, but Chu Yuan of Jinwen. He also has a grandmother to take care of. He cannot fail, and nothing can happen to him. Unfortunately, Li Yunfeng made him stay in the police station for 2 more days, causing his grandmother to worry for 2 days. If he keeps silent, he will look down on himself. Li Yunfeng looked at Chu Ji with resentment. Okay, you are good, you are good. Li Yunfeng turned and left. Chen Zixiu stepped forward and held Chu Ji's hand and said, Don't worry, he won't dare to do anything to you. The people next to them watched Chen Zixiu holding Chu Ji's hand and were delighted. When Chen Yi got the news, she just sighed slightly. Yunfeng has had a smooth journey under the protection of the Chen family, so it's good to have some setbacks. As long as he can get through this, he will truly possess the ability of a successful person, instead of living in the glory of the past like he is now. It was my fault in the beginning. I shouldn't have helped him too much in secret, causing him to lose himself a little. Li Yunfeng did not return to his company. Instead, we turned and went to the halfway point of Jinwen Mountain, where there was a manor. The owner of the manor is named Jiang, and he was once a prominent figure in Jinwen. In the Chinese-style living room, Jiang Tianzheng looked at Li Yunfeng, who was walking over, and pointed at the seat next to him and said, Sit down. Are you in trouble? Li Yunfeng didn't say anything. Brother, do you want to use some tricks to make Chu Yuan disappear? Li Yunfeng still didn't speak. You know that I have a dirty hand. I was once a gangster. Since you are here, you must be prepared to deal with this matter in a special way. Brother, you have helped me, so I have no reason to reject you. But I still want to say that you don't have to take this step, and you haven't failed yet. Li Yunfeng suddenly looked up at Jiang Tian. Have you forgotten the daughter of the Chen family? As long as you marry her, all these things will be fine. These failures of yours are not failures. They will only become means for you to catch up with the daughter of the Chen family. After all, gaining people's pity is also a way to pursue women. Then people will only say that you are deeply in love, and that Chu Yuan succeeded in your pursuit because you were not careful enough. But all of this is based on the premise that you can marry the daughter of the Chen family. Otherwise, you are still a loser. Li Yunfeng became more depressed after hearing this and said, But I don't know what happened to Chen Yi recently. She has become much more distant from me. Jiang Tian was slightly stunned, then said, This is not a good thing. Think about whether you have done something to annoy her. Li Yunfeng had no choice but to tell everyone about how he disobeyed Chen Yi's orders and secretly tripped up Chu Ji. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, Brother, you are being a little petty. Chu Yuan was just an unknown person at the time. If you treat him like this, it will only make people see that you are narrow-minded. If Chen Yi really knew about this, your perfect image would definitely be discounted. She probably thinks that you should keep things cool, which means she really questioned your character. Yunfeng, what you did was really unkind. Li Yunfeng sighed dejectedly after hearing this. It doesn't matter, you've been with her for so many years, you can't just break up. You should find a chance to have a good talk with her. You can use some means when necessary. As long as she becomes your woman, she will consider you whether she is willing or not, and your affairs will no longer be a problem. Li Yunfeng's eyes sparkled. As long as he marries Chen Yi, his failure to move forward will no longer be a failure. No one will care about this. Everyone will only congratulate him, and he will be a true winner. At this time, Chu Ji was pulled by Chen Zixiu into the Chen building. Everyone looked at him in surprise. Chu Ji didn't like this feeling, but didn't say anything. When they arrived at Chen Zixiu's office, Chen Zixiu closed the door, drew the curtain, and then put her arms around Chu Ji's neck. Chu Ji was a little speechless and said, Ziu, this is still in the company. "So what? You are my future husband. Who dares to say anything?" Chu Ji discovered that Chen Zixiu was the kind of person who would give her all once she set her mind on someone. She also told him that he was her first man and would be her last. This made Chu Ji feel a little guilty, because he took advantage of Chen Zixiu. However, this sense of guilt soon disappeared. He was no longer naive. Through the influence of fat fish, he had realized that the law of the jungle is the main theme of this world. There are many people who will do anything to achieve their goals, and he is no exception. After all, it's an office, and Chu Ji can't really have sex with Chen Zixiu. After hanging around for a while, Chu Ji decided to leave. At this time, Chen Zixiu suddenly said, "I have a company here, do you want to manage it?" Chu Ji asked suspiciously, "Chen's company? Why would you give it to me? I'm not from Chen's." "This company was originally prepared for Li Yunfeng, but I want to fight for it. I want you to take charge. As long as you can make the company run smoothly, you will pass the family's assessment." Chu Ji raised his eyebrows. "Is this the way your family chooses sons-in-law?" "You can say that, in fact, it is because Chen's company does not have enough people to take charge of this matter. Originally, the family's ideal candidate was Li Yunfeng, if he could get the company up and running. But I didn't expect that my sister suddenly called it off at the last minute and even postponed the engagement with him. No, to be more precise, my sister suddenly regretted it." Chu Ji said, "So you want to let me run this company?" "That's right, your company is a small one. You are not talented enough there. Are you willing to help me?" Chu Ji thought for a moment and said, "What does the company do?" "We are doing OEM for some electronic products. For example, laptops and some mobile phones, but we haven't received any orders yet. Everything is on hold." Chu Ji's eyes lit up slightly and he said, "Okay, I'll take this job." Chen Zixiu jumped up and kissed Chu Ji, looking very happy. "I'll go to my daddy and get this position for you. Just wait for my good news," Chen Zixiu said. Chapter 245, Crazy Revenge. After seeing Chu Ji off, Chen Zixiu came to the president's office and knocked on the door. Then he pushed the door open and walked in. Chen Yu was correcting documents. When she saw Chen Zixiu coming over, she asked, "What's the matter?" Chen Zixiu said, "Sister, I want Ayuan to do the family's shelved plan." Chen Yu's hand, which was correcting a document, suddenly froze in mid-air. Chen Yu raised her peerless face and looked at Chen Zixiu, frowning slightly. Looking at such a beautiful Chen Zixiu was secretly a little jealous. But when she thought of Chu Ji, her jealousy disappeared. "My Chu Yuan is much better than your Li Yunfeng." Chen Yu then said, "Do you know what that project means?" "Of course I know. Why, do you still want to leave it to your Li Yunfeng?" Chen Yu didn't say anything. After a while, Chen Yu said, "I don't have the final say on this matter. Daddy's words count." "I know, I'm giving you a heads up. Don't blame me for not informing you in advance." "Are you so sure that Chu Yuan is capable of taking on that position?" Chen Zixiu said, "You seem to have forgotten that the planning proposal we are working on now was written by our A. Yuan, right?" Chen Yu's face froze slightly. "You should think about how to get along with Li Yunfeng. When things are going well for him, he behaves in a gentle and polite manner, as if he has everything under control. But once they encounter some setbacks, their true colors are revealed. Didn't you see his disgusting face outside the gate? He just lost face, as if his mother had died. This kind of person has no sense of responsibility and is good-looking but useless." Chen Yu did not refute Chen Zixiu's words, because what she said was true. She and Li Yunfeng had been together all the way, and she had helped him so much that he could not accept even the slightest setback. He was like a child who had never grown up and could never face the storm. This is also why she has been hesitating about the relationship between her and Li Yunfeng. "I have been delaying taking further steps with him, especially after she knew about that incident." She was completely disappointed with Li Yunfeng. Narrow-minded, short-sighted, and a little greedy. Although I did like him at first, and was also fascinated by his heroic appearance. But after a long relationship, she found that Li Yunfeng didn't seem to have any other shining points except his appearance. I didn't think much of it before, but after comparing with Chu Ji, the gap is visible to the naked eye. Chen Yu stood up and looked out the window, looking a little lonely. Soon it was time to get off work. Chen Yu stood up and walked to the door of Chen Building. At a glance, I saw Chu Ji waiting there. The other party seemed very calm, never impatient, and just dealt with Chen Zixiu's unreasonable behavior with a smile, without any impatience at all. Looking at the happy smile on Chen Zixiu's face, Chen Yu suddenly felt a little envious. Chen Yu saw Chu Ji driving past him and nodded to her. His eyes were clear without any evil thoughts, Or maybe the other person was just greeting him politely. If it weren't for the fact that she was Chen Zixiu's sister, the other party might not even bother to nod. Seeing Chuji walking away, Chenya prepared to get in the car and leave. At this time, she saw Li Yunfeng walking towards her not far away. Chenya suddenly didn't want to talk to him, so she got into the car and told the driver to drive. The car left. Li Yunfeng stood there blankly, looking a little at a loss, and then his face was full of anger. After dinner, Chen Zixiu drove to Chen's manor. At the same time, Chen Yi also went to Chen's manor. Seeing his two daughters arrive at the same time, the head of the Chen family was also a little curious. "It's quite rare that you two can get together," Chen Zixiu said. "I was ignorant before, but I won't be like that anymore." The head of the Chen family was more and more surprised. "Tell me, you must have something to ask this time." Chen Zixiu looked at Chen Yi. Chen Yi had a blank expression on her face and did not speak. Chen Zixiu said, "Then let me say it, Dad. I want Chu Yuan to be in charge of the OEM factory project." The Chen family's head was slightly stunned. He subconsciously turned his head to look at Chen Yi, but he found that Chen Yi did not object. "This project is a test for my future son-in-law. He actually prepared it for Li Yunfeng at the beginning, or someone else, but he never thought it was Chu Yuan." Chen Yi said, "I have no objection. With Chu Yuan's ability, I believe he can do it well." The head of the Chen family fell silent. Soon, the news that Chen Zixiu wanted a project for Chu Yuan spread. This is not a secret. Chen Zixiu revealed it herself in order to confirm the matter. When the news got out, there was an uproar among the upper echelons of Jinwen. Everyone knows what Chen's project represents. Everyone thought that the project belonged to Li Yunfeng and was Li Yunfeng's stepping stone to enter the Su group. But no one expected that this project would fall on Chu Yuan's head. Bang! Li Yunfeng threw the wine glass in his hand away again. Why, she didn't even give me a chance," Li Yunfeng said viciously. "Hey, now it seems that the daughter of the Chen family is really planning to give up on you," Jiang Tian said from the side. Looking at Li Yunfeng, Jiang Tian said, "Brother, don't be discouraged. If you really can't do it there, come here to help your brother." Li Yunfeng did not answer. Jiang Tian shook his head slightly. He could help Li Yunfeng get rid of Chu Ji, but if he did so, he would probably have a hard time. Li Yunfeng didn't know, but he knew that the guy called Manta Ray, the new rising force, was Chu Ji's younger brother. If I hadn't found Chu Ji, my days in Jinwen would have come to an end. After all, I am out of fashion. If these young people don't give me face, I will really be nothing. Li Yunfeng walked out of the manor. Being inferior to others is not Li Yunfeng's style. "Chu Yuan, I want to see what kind of person you are." Li Yunfeng drove towards the city. At this time, Chu Ji and Qin Wanshu were walking out of the hospital. Qin Wanshu said, "I think I have to give you another operation. You may remember more things after this operation." Chu Ji turned his head and looked at Qin Wanshu and said, "Your expression tells me that you don't seem to want me to think about the past." Qin Wanshu said, "No, although I have selfishly thought about it, but remember that it was your power before, I can't deprive you of it, even if then." There was a flash of fear in Qin Wanshu's eyes, and she seemed unable to accept the result. Sensing Qin Wanshu's uneasiness, Chu Ji gently held her in his arms and said, "No matter what happened, I will never give up on you." Qin Wanshu hugged Chu Ji tightly after hearing that. But at this moment, Qin Wanshu saw a hint of cold light. A man pulled out a knife and stabbed Chu Ji in the back. Chapter 246, Li Yunfeng's Last Chance. Qin Wanshu didn't know where the strength came from. He turned around and stood in front of Chu Ji, opened his arms and tightly blocked Chu Ji behind him, facing the cold and shining blade. Chu Ji also came to his senses at this time. He suddenly grabbed Qin Wanshu's shoulders, pulled her back, and then kicked her out with the force. He kicked the man away directly. The man lay on the ground struggling, trying to rush forward again. Unfortunately, Chu Ji's kick was so powerful that the opponent couldn't even stand up. Chu Ji looked at the man with a puzzled look, because he had never seen this person before. At this moment, the commotion here attracted the attention of the hospital security, who stepped forward and subdued the man. Finally, the police arrived and took the man away. Chu Ji was still holding Qin Wanshu's hand tightly at this time, unwilling to let go for a moment. Qin Wanshu just let him pull her, her eyes full of tenderness and affection. "Wanshu, are you scared?" Chu Ji asked with concern. "I'm fine," Qin Wanshu replied quickly. At this time, other people also got the news. Chen Zixiu drove to the hospital like crazy. When she found Chu Ji, she threw herself into his arms, her body trembling slightly. She was really scared. At the same time, Fat Fish also got the news. and the entire ghost fish gang started to move, investigating who wanted to attack Chu Ji. That's right, ever since Fatty Fish took over Boss Mo's power, their force has been called the Ghost Fish Gang. Fat Fish was very angry. No one knew what means he used, but Fat Fish targeted an old senior. Mr. Jiang was once a very influential figure. During his heyday, Mr. Jiang was a senior to all the underworld bosses in Jinwen. No matter which gang they were from, they would be polite to Mr. Jiang when they saw him. But this time Fat Fish won't give him face. When Jiang Tian got the news, the largest club under his control was taken over by Fatty. Jiang Tian was very angry and wanted to unite with others to put pressure on Fatty. But they all forgot that Fat Fish needs to transform, which has the support of the local government of Jinwen. When other gangs wanted to deal with Fat Fish, they took action. The fire department, environmental department, and other departments took turns to inspect the property. Let those self-righteous gangsters know what trouble is. After all this work, the public security environment and safety issues in Jinwen have been greatly improved. This made the locals support Fat Fish even more. At this time, those people in Jinwen were surprised to find that Mr. Jiang was no different. Since the Fat Fish can bite off a piece of the other's flesh, why can't they? Jiang Tian sighed helplessly at this time. He didn't expect that a small person like Chu Ji had such great power behind him. Even Chen stood on his side. Jiang Tian looked at Li Yunfeng and said, "Brother, you have seen my situation. It is even a question whether I can withdraw from Jinwen safely. I really can't do anything about your problem, brother." Jiang Tian got up and went to the back hall. When he came out, he was holding a brocade box in his hand. "This is my last support for you, brother." Li Yunfeng was curious and reached out to take the brocade box. Jiang Tian suddenly put his hand on the brocade box, looked at Li Yunfeng and said, "Brother, listen to me, don't touch this person if you can. Brother, I am also leaving Jinwen. That fathead fish is very dissatisfied with me. I may be able to suppress him with my identity, but I know that I have been targeted. I can suppress it for a while, but not forever. If I want to live a stable life, I must leave Jinwen. This is also the last way out the other party has given me." Li Yunfeng was stunned. He didn't expect that there was such a force behind Chu Ji. Jiang Tian said, "Brother, I still say that you must capture the daughter of the Chen family as soon as possible. This is your last chance, otherwise you will not be able to defeat this Chu Yuan. We all underestimated him." Chenya received a call from Li Yunfeng just after she got off work that day. Chenya frowned. Although the man who attacked Chu Ji said nothing at the police station, everyone with a discerning eye knew that it was Li Yunfeng who arranged for someone to assassinate Chu Ji. Chenya was not angry about this. She had been in this position for a long time and had seen all kinds of dirty things. He is willing to sell his body in order to get ahead of others. In order to get ahead, a man will offer his wife to him with both hands. There are countless things like this that happen in secret. What made Chenya angry was that Li Yunfeng was not thoughtful enough and was too stupid. And there is absolutely no need for him to take this step. There are many more suitable paths for him to take. And the people in his company have already chosen a path for him, so he just needs to go with the flow. But he made the stupidest move just to save face. Judging from this performance, Li Yunfeng is disappointing in both his methods and his vision. Looking at the name on the phone, Chenya answered it. Just as Jiang Tian said, they have been together for so many years, and even if Chenya is extremely disappointed with Li Yunfeng, she will not let it go. "Okay, I'll be there, see you later." Chenya hung up the phone. When she went out, she saw Chu Ji again. The other person was leaning against the car door, holding a newspaper and reading quietly. The setting sun shone on him, giving his outline a golden glow. A gentle breeze blew, ruffling his hair and adding a bit of liveliness to the picture. Chenya was a little dazed. She felt like she hadn't seen such a beautiful scenery for a long time. At this time, Chu Ji raised his head and nodded slightly at Chenya. Meeting Chu Ji's calm gaze, Chenya felt that a lot of the fatigue in her heart that day disappeared. At this time, Chen Zixiu also walked out of the building. Seeing Chu Ji, she cheered and ran over. It seemed like she hadn't seen such an innocent sister for a long time. Chen Zixiu seemed to reveal her true nature in front of Chu Ji, appearing relaxed and harmonious without any restraints. Especially the bright smile on his face made Chenya feel a little jealous. Chu Ji looked at Chen Zixiu with a faint smile from beginning to end, and there was a hint of doting in his eyes. Chu Ji took Chen Zixiu away, but this time they did not go home but went in another direction. Chenya turned her head and looked around. It seems that without Chu Ji, the scenery here has become less beautiful. Chen Yi got in the car and drove in the direction Chu Ji left, because the place she and Li Yunfeng agreed to meet was also there. Arriving at a hotel, Chen Yi frowned. When getting off the car, Chen Yi said to the driver, "Give me the car keys, you can get off work." The driver gave the car keys to Chen Yi, then got out and left. Chen Yi walked towards the hotel, came to the designated private room, and saw Li Yunfeng. Li Yunfeng was dressed neatly at this time, but he still couldn't hide the dejection in the other person's eyes. "Chen Yi, you're here," Li Yunfeng spoke first. "Yunfeng, is face really that important? Why can't you take a step back?" Chen Yi said with a frown. Li Yunfeng's face looked a little stiff. "Chen Yi, let's not talk about these disappointing things today. Today is a special," Li Yunfeng said. "What day?" "Today marks the 1,500th day that we have known each other," Li Yunfeng said. Chen Yi was slightly stunned, and then she didn't know what she thought of, and the expression on her face softened. Chapter 247, Who is the Outsider? Chen Yi sighed and said, "Has it been more than 4 years?" Li Yunfeng poured a glass of red wine for Chen Yi. Chen Yi said, "I won't drink the wine. I'd rather drink some tea. I still have to drive later." Li Yunfeng was stunned for a moment, then said, "Okay, I'll have someone prepare coffee for you." Li Yunfeng said at this time, "Chen Yi, I feel that you have been very distant from me recently. I have been reflecting on myself, and I think I am too selfish." Chen Yi looked up at Li Yunfeng with a moving look in her eyes. "I have had it very smooth along the way and have never learned to bend down. Maybe this is an experience for me?" Li Yunfeng continued. Chen Yi's eyes sparkled with a gleam of light. "It's good that you realize this. This is all thanks to your guidance, Chen Yi. Although we don't need to talk about this between us, I still want to thank you. Let's have a drink." Li Yunfeng raised his glass. Chen Yi also picked up the coffee in front of her. At the same time, in a private room next door, Chu Ji looked at Chen Zixiu and her 2 best friends speechlessly. One of her besties had a birthday, so Chu Ji was also dragged over. There were a few other people in the room, mostly women, with only 2 men who seemed to be business partners. It was quite lively, and Chu Ji would not underestimate his current identity. When there are more people, they can't help but drink a little more. Chu Ji also felt a little dizzy. At this time, the banquet was almost over, and only Chu Ji, Chen Zixiu, and Chen Zixiu's 2 best friends were left. I have to say that these 3 women can really drink a lot. Chu Ji felt a little dizzy, but the 3 women seemed fine. They were still whispering to each other, glancing at Chu Ji from time to time and then laughing secretly. Chen Zixiu's face was red, and she looked very shy. It was obvious that she was not talking about anything good, but about him. Thinking of the way Chen Zixiu's 2 best friends grabbed his vital parts, Chu Ji felt his heart tighten. "It is not advisable to stay here for long." Chu Ji stood up and said, Ziu, I'll wait for you in the car." Chen Zixiu said, "Okay, I'll have someone take you there." Chu Ji said, "I can do it by myself." He walked out of the room and into the hotel parking lot. In a daze, he pressed a button next to the key, and a car made a sound and the door opened. Chu Ji went in. Just as he lay down in the back seat, he felt a delicate body falling on him. Chu Ji said, Ziu, this is outside." But the other party seemed not to hear it, or heard it but did not stop the action. Chu Ji was furious and didn't care that he was outside. He turned over and pressed the person under him. A sudden burst of wind and rain. At this time, not far from the car, Li Yunfeng looked around as if looking for someone. "Where's the person? Damn it, how come he disappeared in the blink of an eye?" "Damn it!" Li Yunfeng kicked the flower bed next to him hard. Then his face twisted. He covered his feet and hissed in pain. The intense pain made him give up looking for someone. He limped towards his car nearby. Shortly after Li Yunfeng left, the 3 women came down side by side. It was Chen Zixiu and the other 2. When she came to her car, Chen Zixiu was slightly stunned. "Where are the people?" "Maybe he left," said a close friend next to her. "Why didn't you tell me you were leaving?" Tisk, with his alcohol tolerance, he's lucky to be able to return home at this time. Chen Zixiu was a little worried, so she took out her cell phone and made a call. The ringing of the phone woke Chu Ji up. He touched his phone and saw the caller ID. Then he was slightly stunned. The person who called was Chen Zixiu, so who was next to him now? The dim light from the cell phone illuminated the other person's face. Looking at the man's face, cold sweat ran down Chu Ji's forehead, and he became sober. This person was none other than Chen Yi. At this time, Chen Yi fell down softly. Chu Ji quickly put her down, and his tentacles felt soft and slippery again. It made him feel distracted again. "I can't do it anymore," Chen Yi murmured. The voice is soft and makes people feel distracted. Chu Ji didn't dare to answer. and quickly put on his clothes and got out of the car. After Chu Ji left, Chen Yi opened her eyes and buried her head in her clothes. Chen Zixiu looked at Chu Ji, who appeared without any complaints. She just stepped forward to apologize and acted coquettishly. The two best friends next to me had their teeth falling out from the sour taste. The next day, Chu Ji sent Chen Zixiu to work as usual. After Chen Zixiu got on, he turned around and saw Chen Yi, who had just got off the car next to him. Chen Yi also saw Chu Ji. Her already charming face suddenly turned a little red. Make her look more charming and more breathtaking. Chen Yi glanced at Chu Ji, then lowered her head and walked quickly towards the entrance of the building. But after taking 2 steps, she suddenly stopped, a look of pain on her face. Then he walked much slower and more cautiously. Not sure if it was an illusion, Chu Ji noticed that the other party glared at him. Seems a bit embarrassed. Chu Ji's heart skipped a beat and he wanted to go forward to help. But when he saw Chen Yi's murderous look, he touched his nose and left. Chen Yi looked at Chu Ji's back and said, "Beast." Then I don't know what she thought of. The blush on her cheeks became more intense. Chen Yi walked into the Chen building. Not long after arriving at the president's office, the assistant came over and said, "Mr. Chen, this is our plan to help Yuyan acquire Yashi. Would you like to take a look?" The assistant placed the document on Chen Yi's desk and then asked, "Mr. Chen, is it worth it for you to help Mr. Li so much?" Cooperation and acquisition are two different concepts. Acquiring Esti requires a lot of money. The assistant was speechless. Mr. Chen has been investing money into Yuyan since its inception. This is how pleasant sound is created. Mr. Chen is a little too nice to Li Yunfeng. I'm afraid he will have to pay a large sum of money this time. This money is all Mr. Chen's personal money. It is estimated that Mr. Chen's life will be tight for a while in the future. Chen Yi looked at the document and said, "Change it and let Yashi acquire Yuyan." The assistant next to him was stunned when he heard this. What is going on here? At this time, there was a knock on the door and Chen Zixiu walked in. "Mr. Chen, what have you thought about the outsourcing matter? Daddy is handing this matter over to you. You won't make things difficult for me, right?" Chen Zixiu looked like she was going to accuse someone. After all, the head of the Chen family still values Chen Yi more. So the outsourcing project was given to Chen Yi, who was given full responsibility. Chen Yi said, "Why are you in such a hurry? I will sign the contract and give it to you later. Ask Chu Ji to come to the company to sign the contract and join the company soon." Chen Zixiu was slightly stunned and asked, "You agree?" Chen Yi nodded and said, "Isn't it obvious?" "Strange, you are so strange. I thought you would still fight for this project for Li Yunfeng," Chen Zixiu said. Chen Yi lowered her eyes. "Why would I fight for a project for an outsider?" Chapter 240, at the end of Li Yunfeng. Of course, if Li Yunfeng had succeeded last night, even if I hated him, I would have found a way to hand this project over to Li Yunfeng. But things are different now. How could she embarrass Chu Ji for an outsider? He is her man now. Of course, Chen Yi would not tell Chen Zixiu these words. Li Yunfeng is not suitable to be the person in charge of this project. He doesn't have the ability, and I don't have much energy to clean up the mess for him. Chen Zixiu said, "Is it settled? How about you sign it now?" Chen Yi took out the contract and signed it readily. "Okay, let him come to my place after he joins the company." "Why?" Chen Zixiu looked at Chen Yi warily. Chen Yi said, "As the CEO, I have to make some necessary inquiries and investigations on him, and then tell him what goals we want to achieve, right?" Chen's appointment was soon announced. When Li Yunfeng got the news, he became very gloomy. At this time, there was a knock on the door and the vice president walked in. Looking at Li Yunfeng, the vice president showed a hint of contempt on his face. "Mr. Li, our board of directors has unanimously decided to merge Yuyan into Yashi." Li Yunfeng suddenly turned his head and looked at the deputy general manager. This time, the vice president looked him in the eye without giving in. Li Yunfeng even saw contempt in the vice president's eyes, contempt for himself. "What are your qualifications?" Li Yunfeng asked. "This was approved by the board of directors. It doesn't really matter whether you agree or not, Mr. Li," said the vice president. "I'm here just to inform you, the process will not be terminated just because you disagree." The vice president walked out of the room. Looking at the office at the back, the vice president shook his head. "You still don't know who the biggest boss of Yuyan is. Do you really think you started from scratch? If it weren't for Mr. Chen, you wouldn't even be able to register your company's trademark." Chu Ji was also stunned when he received the news from Fatty Yu. Then he thought of something and exclaimed, "It turns out that she is Yuyan's biggest boss. I should have thought of it earlier." Chu Ji asked Pang Yu to agree to the other party's proposal. Anyway, this was a good thing for Pang Yu, and it would also speed up the transformation of Pang Yu and his group of people. One leg cannot support two legs. His plan for Pang Yu is to have his own company in public and his own power in secret. This is the long-term development path. It is also the future development path. His headache now is how to deal with his relationship with Chen Yi. At this time, he received a call from Chen Zixiu. At this time, Chen Yi was pointing at her head with a dazed look in her eyes, and no one knew what she was thinking. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Chen Yi came back to her senses and said, "Come in." The door opened and Chu Ji walked in. "Mr. Chen," Chu Ji shouted. Looking at Chu Ji, Chen Yi was a little flustered and didn't know where to put her hands. She was busy searching the table, not knowing what she was looking for. "You please sit down," Chen Yi said. Chu Ji sat opposite Chen Yi. Without waiting for Chu Ji to speak, Chen Yi said, Ziu has told you why I asked you to come here, right? I want to hear your opinion." Chu Ji directly took out a plan and said, "This is my plan. I have carefully examined it. In view of the international market situation, a certain fruit is rising very quickly. Our OEM factory can cooperate with a certain fruit. In addition, a chip factory in Jinghai on the other side of the strait is rising rapidly, and I think we can also cooperate with them. If we can get these two orders, there will be no problem for our rapid development in the next 10 years. Chen Yi calmed down when it came to business. They looked at the plan provided by Chu Ji and discussed it in detail. Chu Ji answered them one by one and proposed the idea of building a factory on the other side of the strait to reduce labor costs. Got Chen Yi's approval. During the conversation, Chen Yi's eyes became brighter because she found that Chu Ji's ideas were better and more pragmatic than hers, and every plan he proposed was supported by specific data. These are things that can actually be done, unlike some people who specifically use some high-sounding terms or those fancy, but unrealistic solutions to cover up their incompetence and guilty conscience. Chu Ji and Li Yunfeng are completely different in this respect. Chen Yi felt that Chu Ji seemed to have managed a company as big as Chen's. Discussing the problem with him actually made her feel like she had suddenly realized something. She had never felt this way with her own father. Chu Ji didn't feel anything strange. He just thought Chen Yi was very smart and could understand some problems immediately. He felt that he hadn't met someone he got along with so well for a long time. "I feel like I get along very well with you, Mr. Chen," Chu Ji said at this time. Chen Yi's cheeks turned red when she heard this. You hooligan." Chu Ji was a little confused. How could he be considered a hooligan? At this time, the door opened, and Chen Zixiu walked in. "Do you have to spend so much time talking? It's already time to get off work." Chen Yi quickly stood up and said, "Really? Sorry, I have to leave first." Chen Yi stood up and left the office in a panic. Chen Zixiu looked at Chen Yi suspiciously, then looked at Chu Ji and asked, "What's wrong with her?" Chu Ji said, "I don't know, but Mr. Chen is indeed very capable." Chen Zixiu pouted in dissatisfaction and said, "Don't I have the ability?" Chu Ji quickly said, "Of course our Zixiu is also very good." Chen Zixiu immediately smiled. When everyone thought that Chen Yi would make things difficult for Chu Ji and would not allow him to take up the position smoothly, Chen Yi readily agreed to Chu Ji's appointment. This disappointed those who wanted to watch the fun. Even Chen Zixiu felt a little surprised. When did her sister become so easy to talk to? Chen's manner. Patriarch Chen looked at Chen Yi and asked, "Are you really optimistic about Chu Ji?" Chen Yi said, "Yes, his ability is still underestimated. I think there will be no problem even if the group is handed over to him." Patriarch Chen was slightly surprised. "You think so highly of him?" Chen Yi nodded. Deep down, she thought she had underestimated Chu Ji's strength. Patriarch Chen did not dwell on this issue, but looked at Chen Yi and asked, "What about Li Yunfeng? Are you planning to cut off your relationship with him?" Chen Yi narrowed her eyes. She did not tell her family that Li Yunfeng had drugged her. Otherwise, if her family asked about it, how would she explain her relationship with Chu Ji? Chen Yi said, "I will explain the relationship here to him clearly. Yunfeng should also have his own way to go." At this moment, Li Yunfeng was looking at the brocade box in his hand with a puzzled expression. He drove away from his residence. The car was driving at high speed on the winding mountain road. The light from the street lamp made his face look uncertain. Suddenly, Li Yunfeng burst into laughter, and tears came out of his eyes. At this time, the car was already halfway up the mountain. At one point, the car crashed through the fence. The entire car fell into the surging stream below. Chapter 249, Who Will Win? When Chen Yi received the news, she was stunned for a long time, then leaned back in her chair dejectedly. When Chen Zixiu got the news, she was also stunned for a moment, then asked, "Why bother?" When Jiang Tian got the news, he had already boarded a plane to go abroad. He sighed helplessly. After all, it grew up in a flower pot and can't withstand the wind, frost, and rain. Li Yunfeng's life shouldn't have ended like this. He didn't lose to Chu Ji, but to himself. He couldn't get over the hurdle in his heart. Everything went smoothly from childhood to adulthood, but suddenly his business encountered setbacks, followed by Chen Yi's sudden indifference towards him. All this made Li Yunfeng fall from the high clouds into the quagmire. He was unable to accept this fact for a while, and thus ended up committing suicide. Of course, this is what Li Yunfeng himself thought. In fact, in the eyes of outsiders, what happened to Li Yunfeng was not a big deal at all. The company did not go bankrupt. On the contrary, cooperating with Esti could also gain a sub-brand, which was a win-win situation. However, he never thought about it this way. The cold relationship between him and Chen Yi was caused by his own flaws in character and personality. With the relationship between him and Chen Yi for so many years, as long as he recognizes his mistakes and actively corrects them, Chen Yi will still try to accept him. After all, the relationship they have had for so many years is not just empty talk. But he was extremely unconfident and wanted to take an unconventional approach. But he messed it up and actually pushed Chen Yi into Chu Ji's arms. Chen Yi became Chu Ji's woman, and Chu Ji was her first man. Chen Yi may not like Chu Ji very much, but since she has become his woman, she will naturally consider Chu Ji. This completely cut off the possibility of renewing the relationship with Li Yunfeng. It also became the last straw that broke the camel's back for Li Yunfeng. It is no exaggeration to say that he does more harm than good. Chu Ji got a great bargain for no reason. This was not due to his ability but luck, and it was also Li Yunfeng's destiny to suffer this disaster. Chu Ji was only slightly stunned by Li Yunfeng's death and didn't think about it anymore. Now, as Fatty's older brother, he has been exposed to some dark things in society, and his personality has become much gloomier. In the past, Chu Ji might have felt reluctant about using any means necessary to achieve his goal. But now Chu Ji feels that this is natural, and this is the biggest change he has experienced in Jinwen. Chu Ji was in the hospital, accompanying his grandmother for the last time. Her life finally came to an end. Fatty and his grandfather also came. Fatty's grandfather was also lying next to his grandmother. He was very skinny at this time. The reason why he had not appeared here was because he was also seriously ill. Time is running out. Fatty cried like a child, and he was still a child. Grandma reached out her trembling hand and touched Fatty Fish's head, then looked at Chu Ji and said, "I want you to be my grandson. From now on, Fatty Fish will be in your hands." "Grandma, I will always be your grandson." Grandma closed her eyes and passed away with a smile. It was not until this time that he knew his grandmother's surname was Liu. Chu's name was also listed under hers. There is also a property in Jinwen, which Grandma also gave to Chu Ji. It was an old house, and Pang Yu disliked it and had never taken care of it. He wanted to sell it, but his grandmother strongly disagreed. Now that she had given it to Chuj, she felt relieved. 3 days after Grandma passed away, Grandpa also passed away. Fatty became a complete orphan, but of course he still had his brother Chuj. After dealing with the aftermath, Chu Ji calmed himself down and officially entered Chen's company. Under Chu Ji's leadership, the OEM factory quickly got on track. The efficient work efficiency surprised the head of the Chen family. "Chen family," the head of the Chen family said, "This Chu Yuan is really a talent." Chen Zixiu raised her head proudly and said, "That's right, our Ayuan has always been very capable." Chen Yi next to her glanced at Chen Zixiu, then turned her head away, not knowing what she was thinking. Patriarch Chen asked, Ziu, how is your relationship with him now?" Chen Zixiu thought of Chu Ji's bravery last night, her cheeks slightly red as she said, "That's good." The head of the Chen family said, "Then you need to prepare for your wedding." Upon hearing this, Chen Yi, who was standing next to him, clenched her hands quietly, and her fingers turned white. No hurry, no hurry. A Yuan has so many things to do. Getting married will only waste his time and energy. Let's talk about it later." The head of the Chen family looked at Chen Zixiu, then looked at Chen Yi and said, "Yi, what about you? I plan to arrange a blind date between you and the Qin family. What do you think?" Chen Yi said, "Daddy, I don't want to think about feelings now." The head of the Chen family said, "Li Yunfeng is a thing of the past. You still have to go on with your life. I will take you to a cocktail party 2 days later. People from the Qin family will also go. Of course, there will be other young talents. If you don't like the Qin family, other families can also come." Chen Zixiu was shaking her feet beside him without saying anything. She was not in a hurry at all now. Chu Ji was everything to her. "Oh, sister, you can't live your whole life alone, right? I'll go with you that day and give you some advice," Chen Zixiu said. "Yes, let Zixiu give you some advice. It's settled." After saying this, the head of the Chen family stood up and left the living room. Chen Zixiu looked at Chen Yi and raised her head proudly. Because of Chu Ji's existence, she is now qualified to be proud in front of Chen Yi. "You should go and have a look. Although it's hard to find someone as good as our A Yuan, there are still some people with some ability." "This is just sarcasm." Chen Yi glanced at Chen Zixiu and said, "Your Chu Yuan is so outstanding. Be careful not to be seduced by other vixens." Chen Zixiu said, "That only shows that our Ayuan is more outstanding. Isn't it normal for our Ayuan to have several female confidants?" Chen Yi looked at Chen Zixiu speechlessly. Chen Zixiu snorted coldly, then stood up and left. Chen Yi gritted her teeth, took out her cell phone and made a call. "Come to my place. If you dare not come, you will see what happens." Chu Ji hung up the phone in confusion. What happened? After thinking about it, I decided to go. As a result, the next day, Chen Yi was late for a rare occasion. Her mood just became much better, her face was slightly flushed, and she looked very beautiful. "You haven't even gotten married yet, and we don't know who will win," Chen Yi muttered. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Seeing the person coming, Chen Yi frowned and asked, "Qin Yu, why are you here?" This person was one of Chen Yi's suitors, Qin Yu, who was also the person Chen Zixiu tried to hook up with. "What, I can't come?" Qin Yu walked over casually like a rogue. Chen Yi said, "Second Master Qin, I am very busy every day now, unlike you who have nothing to do every day." Qin Yu's face froze. Chapter 250, Return to Jing. Qin Yu is uneducated and unskilled, so naturally he will not be allowed to take charge of the family business. So until now, he has not had the opportunity to work in his own Qin company. They are very good at flirting with other women, and this is no secret in their circle. Of course, Qin Yu doesn't think he is unlearned. He has great ambitions. Pursuing Chen Yi is one of his goals. As long as he marries Chen Yi, his status in the Qin family will definitely rise. But with Li Yunfeng around at the time, he had no chance. But now that Li Yunfeng is gone, he feels that his chance has come. Chen Yi said, "Second Master Qin, tell me, what exactly do you want to talk to me about this time?" Chen Yi seemed a little impatient. Qin Yu said, "Of course I'm here to pursue you." Qin Yu found that Chen Yi was particularly beautiful today. It makes people feel eager to make some moves. Chen Yi shook her head and said, "Don't waste your time, you're not my type." Qin Yu said, "Haven't you always wanted that piece of land in Gyro Bay? What do you think if I use it as a betrothal gift?" Qin is a real estate tycoon and also a nouveau rich. "I lack everything except money and land." Chen Yi had indeed been eyeing that piece of land for a long time. "But that was before. Sorry, I'm not interested in that land now. Don't you Chen Group want to develop real estate? This is a good opportunity to enter the real estate industry." Qin Yu looked at Chen Yi with some surprise. Chen Yi put a lot of effort into getting that piece of land, but in the end it was taken away by Qin. He remembered how angry Chen Yi was at that time. That piece of land can be said to be Chen's opportunity to enter the real estate industry. It can be said to be very important to the Chen family, but it was still intercepted by Qin. It's not that Qin's strength is above Chen, but because Qin is a big shot in the real estate sector, the government thinks Qin is more reliable. But I believe that Chen will still not give up that piece of land. This is also Qin Yu's last trump card here. But now Chen Yi suddenly said that she didn't want that piece of land anymore. How could Qin Yu not be surprised? Chen Yi raised the corners of her mouth slightly and said, "We have a better place, so we don't need that piece of land now." Because in Chu Ji's plan, it was described in detail that the other side of the strait was the best place to invest in real estate. A plan was also proposed to develop surrounding facilities while building the factory. It can be said that the plan laid the foundation for Chen's development direction for the next 10 years. Therefore, they do not plan to invest in Jinwen. After all, although the Chen family has money, it must be spent wisely. "Is there anything else? If not, please go back. I have to work." Chen Yi no longer looked at Qin Yu. Qin Yu's cheeks twitched slightly, looking a little funny. Qin Yu couldn't accept that his trump card had become something dispensable in front of Chen Yi. Qin, the head of the Qin family, is waiting anxiously. Who is Chen Yi? She is the most beautiful girl in Jinwen. It is the most dazzling pearl of Jinwen. If his son could marry Chen Yi, he would be willing to give away not just one piece of land, but 2 or 3 pieces. But Chen Yi was arrogant and looked down upon her youngest son. As for Qin Feng, Although he has good abilities, he is already married. Only Qin Yu is still single. Seeing Qin Yu coming back, he quickly asked, "How is it?" Qin Yu said frustratedly. She refused without even thinking about it. The Qin family head was speechless. "Come on, they just looked down on you." The Qin family's head was helpless. Qin Yu snorted coldly and said, "Chen Yu is not okay, but there is still Chen Zixiu. Don't worry, Dad, I will definitely get Chen Zixiu." The Qin family's head asked, "Can Chen Zixiu compare with Chen Yi?" The Qin family's head was stunned for a moment and said, "Li Yunfeng is dead. Although he committed suicide, it is also related to Chu Yuan. Although the Li family is not a big family, it has a deep foundation, and the people of the Li family will probably not give up. Although Chen Zixiu is close to Chu Yuan, under the influence of the Li family, the head of the Qin family may have to give up on him. You are not without a chance." Chu Ji had no idea that someone was trying to poach his girls. Even if he knew, he wouldn't care. At this moment, he said to Zhu Moyu, who was lazily lying on his chair next to him, "I plan to go to Jinghai." Zhu Moyu's eyes widened instantly when she heard this. "What did you remember? Wan Shu's operation was successful." Chu Ji said, "I didn't remember anything. I went to Jinghai this time for factory matters. I plan to cooperate with the Chu group in Jinghai." Zhu Moyu said with a playful smile in her eyes. "Oh, then what?" The Chu family is the local boss of Jinghai and has perfect chip production technology. It has great potential in the future. It is definitely the right thing to cooperate with them. Zhu Moyu said, "Sure, but you have to go and talk to the Chu Corporation's CEO in person." Chu Ji nodded, "Of course. They are just OEM companies and do not have independent semiconductor processing technology, which is a big taboo. In order for the OEM business to survive for a long time, it is necessary to cooperate with Chu, which has independent intellectual property rights. Chu Ji wants to have his own chip processing company, but this cannot be achieved overnight. If you don't have the most core technology, you will have to live at the low end in the future." He had learned about the development of the Chu family. Although it was not the most advanced technology, it was their own technology. The potential on the other side of the strait is huge. As long as he can cooperate with Chus, at least his factory will never have to worry about orders in the future. Of course, he would not give up cooperating with the famous chip manufacturing company in Jinwen. When doing business, you always have to prepare for both situations. Do what you say. After planning the time, Chu Ji took Zhu Moyu and Qin Wanshu back to Jinghai. Qin Wanshu took Chu Ji to his villa. Chu Ji looked at the villa and said to Qin Wanshu, "Wanshu, your house doesn't look simple either." Qin Wanshu smiled but said nothing. Didn't he know the situation in his family best? It was also because of the situation at home that he chose to let go. But the Chu Ji now is not the Chu Ji of the past. I performed another operation on him and confirmed that some of his memory cells were indeed necrotic. He was afraid that he would never remember the past for the rest of his life. In that case, let him live well with his current identity. However, a detailed explanation still needs to be given to Chu Ji's family. Chu Ji also has a younger sister who is currently studying in Jinghai. Perhaps he could explain the situation to her sister first. It's just some memory loss, which shouldn't be a big problem. In the living room, Chu Ji asked the two women, "I heard that the president of the Chu family is a woman who was once the daughter of the Su family. How much do you know about her?" The two women looked at each other, and Ninja smiled and said, "I don't know much, I just know that she is Boss Chu's wife." Chapter 251. Is it possible that you are the President Chu? Chu Ji nodded to show that he understood. Zhu Moyu next to him continued with a hint of sarcasm. "She's very beautiful, don't lose control when the time comes." Chu Ji's face turned pale and he said, "Am I, Chu Yuan, the kind of person who is attracted by beauty?" Zhu Moyu said, "Who knows? No one knows who entered the wrong room that day." Chu Ji said with a red face, "Is it you who slept in my room?" Zhu Moyu raised her eyebrows and said, "How about I give you the benefit of the doubt and leave the door open for you today?" Qin Wanshu, who was standing next to him, twisted Chu Ji's ear and said, "Get inside or I'll punish you." Zhu Moyu knew exactly how to clean up the mess the next day, when she saw Qin Wanshu walk out of the room with weak legs. Chu Ji blocked the sunlight above his head with his hands. The sunshine today is very bright, but a little dazzling, which may be related to the glass of the building next to it. Looking at the somewhat familiar building, he felt a little confused. "Chu, Mr. Chu." Someone looked at him in surprise when passing by him. Chu Yuan looked at the man and said, "Do you know me?" The man looked at Chu Ji in confusion. "My name is Chu Yuan, what's your name?" Chu Yuan, could he be our CEO Chu's twin brother? Twin? Not twins, they're too similar, aren't they? But his temperament is a little different. He looks a little bit ruffian. No, maybe it should be called domineering. Indeed, Mr. Chu's eyes are usually very gentle, too gentle. But this guy's eyes are a little sharp. His face also seems to be a little tougher. Chu Ji didn't know who the people surrounding him were comparing him to. However, he did not forget the purpose of his visit, and he walked into the Chu building. The two receptionists looked at him in amazement and asked, "Boss Chu." Chu Ji knew that the other party had recognized the wrong person, so he said, "I am not your President Chu. My name is Chu Yuan, and I came here to see your CEO. I am from Jinwen, and this is my business card." Chu Ji handed over a business card and said, "I made an appointment with your president a few days ago. I wonder if your president is free to see me now." The receptionist looked at the business card in her hand with some surprise. "Chu Yuan, General Manager of the branch of Jinwen Chen Group." "It's me." The front desk called up. Soon the receptionist said to Chu Ji, "Boss Chu, you can go up now." Upon hearing this, Chu Ji took the elevator to the designated floor. He walked out of the elevator, and the staff on the floor instantly became quiet. "Mr. Chu," someone exclaimed. Chu Ji quickly said, "I am not your President Chu. My name is Chu Yuan. I am here to meet your President Su." Everyone looked at Chu Ji in confusion. But Chu Ji's temperament at this time is indeed slightly different from Chu Ji's before. The man in front of him, named Chu Yuan, seemed more domineering, with the bearing of a superior and the arrogance of someone who held the power of life and death. He was indeed somewhat different from his own President Chu, but everyone still remained confused. If they were not the same person, wouldn't they look too similar? There are many strange things in the world. Are there really two people in the world who are so similar? Someone asked. But the facts are right in front of us. There's no need for the other party to hide his identity, right? Yes, the other party also said that he was a general manager of the Jinwen Chen Group. This shouldn't be false. Not necessarily, maybe the couple are playing some game again, someone said. It doesn't seem impossible. Anyway, everyone just needs to be careful. Amid everyone's curious gazes, Chu Ji knocked on the door of the president's office. As Chu Ji entered the office, he saw a stunningly beautiful woman. A woman as beautiful as Chen Yi. The other party was reviewing documents at this time, but he looked a little haggard. "It seems like I haven't had a good rest for a long time." "Hello, Mr. Su. I am Chu Yuan from Jinwen, the general manager of Foxconn." Chu Yuan spoke first. Su Ruoxuan, who was reviewing documents, suddenly froze in place. Then her fingers began to tremble a little. She slowly raised her head and looked at Chu Yuan. Looking at Chu Yuan in front of her, Su Ruoxuan suddenly covered her mouth, tears flashing in her eyes. Chu Ji was a little surprised by Su Ruoxuan's reaction. He looked at himself and said to Su Ruoxian, "Boss Su, do you mistake me for Boss Chu too?" Su Ruoxuan shook her head and looked at Chu Ji, crying and laughing at the same time. Chu Ji was a little confused. Was there something wrong with this Mr. Su? "Mr. Su," Chu Ji called out again cautiously. Su Ruoxian calmed down and said, "Please take a seat, Mr. Chu." Chu Ji sat down carefully and said, "It's a bit presumptuous to visit you rashly this time." Su Ruoxian shook her head and said, "I know your intention, but since we are collaborating, we should study the rules and regulations clearly." Chu Ji said, "Of course, I didn't expect that you, Mr. Su, would agree to my request so quickly. This is beneficial to the cooperation between both parties. Why shouldn't I agree?" Su Ruoxuan said. Chu Ji was delighted to hear this. It seemed that this cooperation was settled. Next is a discussion of some details. However, this is only verbal. After returning, these agreements must be written into the contract and then discussed again. These things cannot be completed in one day. It was already evening when Chu Ji walked out of the Chu building. Su Ruoxuan personally sent him out. Su Ruoxian said at this time, "It's getting late, Mr. Chu, won't you treat me to a meal?" President Chu said, "Of course, I am very lucky to have President Su here." The two of them came to the restaurant and ordered some food. During this time, Chu Ji felt that Su Ruoxuan looked at him a little differently. Chu Ji himself also felt that the woman in front of him had an indescribable sense of familiarity. When we got back to the hotel, Qin Wanshu came up to us and asked, "How was the talk?" "It's fine, and President Su is a very nice person, but I always feel something is weird." "What?" "It's just that Mr. Su looks at me strangely." "Wanshu, will you come with me to the next negotiation?" Zhu Moyu beside him sneered, "Why are you still afraid that she will eat you?" Then he blushed and said, "It doesn't seem impossible." Chu Ji said, It feels like this Ms. Su knew me before, but she was in Jinghai and I was in Jinwen, so we shouldn't have had any intersection. Or maybe I have been to Jinghai before. Chu Ji was puzzled. Zhu Moyu said, "Have you ever thought that you are the President Chu they are talking about?" Chu Ji was stunned and said, "How can I be their CEO, Chu? Don't joke, my home is in Jinwen." Zhu Moyu and Qin Wanshu looked at each other. There was a smile in each other's eyes. They could actually tell Chu Ji the truth, but they all had their own selfish motives, and no one was willing to say it. Chapter 252, Pretending to be My Husband. Qin Wanshu didn't want to say it because she was afraid of losing this tenderness. She wanted to start over with Chu Ji. Her current life was exactly what she had always dreamed of, and she didn't want to ruin it. Zhu Moyu was reluctant to say it because this time she had finally gotten ahead of her sister. At least in Chu Yuan's world, she was his soul mate. Even Su Ruoxuan was unwilling to say it, because he knew that, although Chu Ji accepted her at the beginning, there was still a barrier in his heart. She wanted to get to know Chu Ji again and overcome the barrier in his heart. Besides, Chu Yuan will probably never remember the past, so wouldn't it be better to live again? The only problem is Chu Ji's family, as they are the ones who most want Chu Ji to know the truth. But this matter can be delayed for a while, as long as Chu Ji's family is informed that he is safe. For them, no matter what Chu Ji becomes, Chu Ji is their relative and they will accept and tolerate him. This is more like a fun game, and everyone wants to show their perfect side in front of Chu Ji. Besides, he has two women in Jinwen. One is Chen Zixiu and the other is Chen Yi. If he knew my true identity, I'm afraid he would be in trouble again. It's better to leave it like this. I think he is more domineering and aggressive now. The key is that his moral values are not as strong as before. Isn't this a good thing? Zhu Moyu analyzed the matter for Qin Wanshu. When Qin Wanshu heard this, the guilt in his heart instantly disappeared. Now that she and Chu Ji have finally achieved a happy ending, she wants to hold on to this relationship tightly and never let go. Chu Ji had no idea what these women were thinking. In Jinghai, Chu Ji is now a complete newcomer, a newcomer named Chu Yuan from Jinwen. The negotiations with the Chu family went smoothly. It went so smoothly that it frightened him. However, from beginning to end, Chu Ji never saw the chairman of Chu Corporation, the man called Chu Ji. All matters are decided by President Su Ruoxuan. Considering the relationship between Su Ruoxuan and Chairman Chu, Chu Ji was not too surprised. Privately, Chu Ji asked Qin Wanshu, "Wanshu, your family is from Jinghai. Do you know what the chairman of Chu Corporation is like?" Qin Wanshu said, "Chairman Chu, he is dead now and has completely bid farewell to the past." Dead? Chu Ji was a little surprised. And at the same time, he finally understood why Su Ruoxuan had that expression when she saw him. Yes, it's a pity that Ms. Su is so beautiful and she is a widow at such a young age. Why don't you take her in? Zhu Moyu said cunningly. Chu Ji shook his head like a rattle when he heard this and said, "Don't joke. Ms. Su is a very good person. We shouldn't say that about her behind her back." Zhu Moyu and Qin Wanshu looked at each other with smiles in their eyes. Chu Ji said, "Things here are going smoothly and it has come to an end. What remains is to choose a site to build a factory. Jinghai is very expensive, so it is not suitable. I want to extend it inland." Qin Wanshu said, "Just make the decision on these matters yourself." Chu Ji nodded. He now also developed the domineering attitude of making decisions on his own. Today is a rest day. Chu Ji got up early. He planned to go for a walk today. He always felt that the streets and alleys of Jinghai gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Wandering along the way, he came to a shopping mall and suddenly saw a familiar figure. It turned out to be Su Ruoxuan. At this time, a young man next to Su Ruoxuan was holding flowers and was talking about something. Su Ruoxuan seemed a little impatient. The two approached his position. Chu Ji faintly heard the young man's words. "Ruoxian, your husband is dead. This is a fact. You are the daughter of the Su family. There is no need to be a widow for him. I like you. You should know that I didn't have a chance before, but now I have one. I hope you can accept me." Su Ruoxian looked at the young man sharply and said, "Who told you that my husband is dead? He is not dead. He is alive and well. Li Lan, put away your thoughts. I am not interested in you." Li Lan said, "Ruoxian, why do you have to deceive yourself? If he is not dead, why doesn't he show up? Besides, this is what your father meant." Just then Su Ruoxuan saw Chu Ji. Suddenly his eyes lit up and he said, "Have you been waiting for a long time, Aj?" Su Ruoxuan walked towards Chu Ji and naturally took Chu Ji's arm. Chu Ji was stunned. She also called him Aj. Is his name really Aj? The young man was slightly stunned when he saw Chu Ji, and his face turned ugly. "Boss Chu." Chu Ji wanted to explain, but he felt Su Ryukshuan's slight pressure on his arm. Chu Ji frowned and asked, "Who are you?" He really didn't like the person in front of him. "I don't know why, but I just don't like seeing him pestering Su Ryukshuan. His name is Li Lan, and he's from the Li family," Su Ryukshuan explained. "Li family, never heard of it," Chu Ji said. Su Ryukshuan next to her burst out laughing, looking very charming, because Chu Ji now looks like a jealous little boy. Li Lan on the opposite side also looked extremely embarrassed. She was actually harassing someone else's wife in front of her husband. Who could accept this? Chu Ji said, "Li Lan, right? I hope this kind of thing won't happen again in the future." Li Lan hid the flowers in her hand behind her back awkwardly. "Boss Chu, I thought." Chu Ji said with a slightly cold expression. "You thought I was dead." No, sorry to bother you." Li Lan left quickly. But his face turned gloomy and filled with surprise and confusion. Chu Ji looked at Su Ryukshuan and was about to say something. Su Ryukshuan suddenly said, "Boss Chu, be a good person to the end. How about you pretend to be my husband for a while? Of course, as compensation, I will give you a point for this cooperation." Chu Ji wanted to refuse, but after hearing Su Ryukshuan's next words, he said without hesitation, "Deal." "It's not a big deal. For the sake of a little profit, pretending to be the other person's husband for a few days doesn't hurt yourself. It's a good thing." Su Ryukshuan's eyes were filled with smiles. "You are indeed different from before." Chu Ji asked in confusion, "Do you know me from the past?" Su Ryukshuan didn't say anything, but looked a little cunning. "Do you want to sign a contract or something? Write down clearly what you are allowed to do and what you are not allowed to do." Chu Ji did not delve into it. Su Ryukshuan said, "No, just do whatever you want." Chu Ji's throat felt dry as he looked at the incredibly beautiful Su Ryukshuan. Looking at Chu Ji's appearance, Su Ryukshuan could hardly suppress the smile on her lips. Su Ryukshuan believed that if this was not in a shopping mall, she would burst out laughing. Chu Ji followed Su Ryukshuan to her villa. This place seems a little strange, because this is no longer the villa where Su Ryukshuan lived. This is a newly built building. Chu Ji looked at the portrait of him and Su Ryukshuan on the wall. No, to be exact, it was the portrait of Chu Ji and Su Ryukshuan. He was a little absent-minded. Chapter 253, What He Knows is Real. Chu Ji subconsciously touched his face and felt that he looked very similar to the person in the photo. "Come back with me to see my father tomorrow," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji was stunned and said, "Is this not necessary?" "No, this is a necessary procedure. Only in this way can my father give up the idea of finding another one for me," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji could only nod and agree. "Since you have promised Su Ryukshuan, just let her arrange it. I took it for revenge. 1 point is not a small number." At this time, a butler walked out. Looking at Chu Ji, he said, "Sir, you are finally back." Chu Ji was about to explain, but Su Ryukshuan next to him said, "Put some water in the pot for the gentleman, and ask him to wash himself thoroughly to get rid of the bad luck." After the housekeeper left, Chu Ji asked Su Ryukshuan, "We have to keep this secret from the housekeeper, too." Su Ryukshuan's eyes were filled with smiles. "What are you hiding? Isn't what he knows true?" Chu Ji opened his mouth and suddenly clapped his hands, saying, "I see. If you want to pretend, then start with the people around you. This way there won't be any flaws." Su Ryukshuan looked at Chu Ji. He covered his mouth with his hand to hold back his laughter. "You have really changed a lot, but I like you very much," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji looked at Su Ryukshuan in surprise. "Are you even going to deceive yourself now?" "Ha-ha-ha-ha." A silver bell-like laughter rang out. The old housekeeper heard Su Ryukshuan's laughter and wiped his eyes. "How long has it been since the young lady was so happy? It turns out that the master is the young lady's medicine." Chu Ji felt very relaxed here. After taking a shower, Chu Ji came to the living room. He saw Su Ryukshuan still waiting in the living room. Looking at Chu Ji, who was walking down, Su Ryukshuan seemed a little dazed. "Ryukshuan, why don't you go take a shower?" Chu Ji asked. "I'll go right away," Su Ryukshuan replied. Watching Su Ryukshuan's graceful figure walking upstairs, Chu Ji lowered his eyes slightly. "Don't let your imagination run wild. You are just helping. If you take advantage of others' misfortune, what's the difference between you and a beast?" After preparing himself mentally, Chu Ji got up, went upstairs, and walked into the room that was arranged for him. No words were spoken that night. The next day, Chu Ji stretched his body. He slept soundly that night. When I came into the living room, I smelled the fragrance of food. Chu Ji was also hungry, so he followed the smell and saw the graceful figure busy in the restaurant. Chu Ji was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Su Ryukshuan to cook by herself. For a moment, Chu Ji was a little dazed. feeling as if he and Su Ryukshuan had been living like this for a very long time. Chuji shook his head violently, and his steps back involuntarily. He was scared. He was really scared. He was afraid that he would fall in love with Su Ryukshuan. Su Ryukshuan hummed a cheerful song and came to the living room with the prepared breakfast. But he saw Chuji sitting there in a daze. As Su Ryukshuan shouted, Chuji suddenly woke up. Su Ryukshuan, I didn't expect you to cook. I learned it by myself. Try my cooking, Su Ryukshuan said to Chuji as if asking for credit. Chuji smiled reluctantly and felt guilty. But Su Ryukshuan didn't notice it. Su's father was walking back and forth. The Su family has been on a downward spiral since Su Ryukshuan left. Although the Su family still exists in Jinghai, its influence and strength are much worse than before. When the Zhang family was suppressed, and the Zhao family was besieged by Su Ryukshuan, the Li family took advantage of the situation and rose up. They soon controlled a large amount of capital and even surpassed the Zhang family. Now it even threatens the status of the Su family. Su's father thought about marrying into the Li family to consolidate the Su family's position. Don't even think about Su Wan, he has no say in the matter. Even he was shocked by the strength displayed by Su Wan. Then he can only count on Su Ryukshuan. If Chuji were still alive, he would naturally not have any thoughts, but now Chuji is dead and his daughter is a widow, so no one will say anything if she remarries. That's why he let Li Lan from the Li family pursue Su Ryukshuan, but the effect was not good. Su Ryukshuan was so lazy that she didn't even bother to pay attention to Li Lan. How could Su's father not be anxious? If the Su family cannot marry into the Li family, the decline of the Su family will be inevitable. The person who regrets the most now is probably Su Pin and Su Ryukshuan's aunt. It was they who completely pushed Chuji out of the Su family. Now that their lives are difficult, they remember what stupid things they did in the first place. They destroyed the Su family's future with their own hands. Father Su is worried. Suddenly, I heard the sound of a car outside the door. Su's father was suspicious and looked towards the door and saw Su Ryukshuan's car. Ryukshuan, Father Su's eyes lit up. Sure enough, Su Ryukshuan got out of the car at this time. After Su Ryukshuan got off the car, a person who was very familiar to Su's father also got off the car. Looking at that person, Father Su's pupils shrank slightly. Chuji. Chuji saw that Su's father first quietly confirmed with Su Ryukshuan. After seeing Su Ryukshuan nod, Chuji laughed and said, "Dad, how have you been lately?" Father Su was slightly stunned when he heard this. "Are you really Chuji?" Chuji's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Is the secret exposed already? Dad, are you angry with our Aj? Do you think he didn't help the Su family? Su Ryukshuan said from the side. Of course, Father Su had no suspicions. Chuji was so nervous that he was just scaring himself. Father Su said, "It seems that Aji has changed a lot after this ordeal." Chuji breathed a sigh of relief, which meant that his personality had changed a little. Didn't Mr. Chu call Su Ryukshuan's father Dad in the past? What are you shouting, Chairman Su? If Father Su knew Chuji's thoughts, he would definitely roll his eyes. Is there any need to guess? If he hadn't asked you to call him Dad, when would you have called him Dad? However, Chuji still heard what Su Ryukshuan said just now. Chuji said, "Dad, it seems that I was indeed negligent. So our Chu group has a cooperation with Jinwen Chen Group. Chen Group intends to build a factory here and do OEM. They want to cooperate with me, and they also have cooperation with the most advanced chip manufacturer in Jinwen. So the future development will definitely be right. See if Su Shi is willing to join in. Chen Shi is worried about the place. You just need to provide a piece of land and leave the rest to me. I will guarantee that Su Shi will have a place in the electronics industry in the future." When Father Su heard this, his eyes suddenly lit up. He knew the Chen family. It was an old and wealthy family. It is also a leading family in Jinwen. Being able to establish a relationship with the Chen family, there is a promising future ahead. Of course, this does not mean that Su's is weak, but with the cooperation between the two companies, Su's future development will definitely have an explosion. This is a great thing. Haha, son-in-law, you are sensible. Unlike my little cotton-padded jacket, which is leaky, Father Su laughed. Chapter 254, The Li Family's Little Move. Su Ryukshuan next to her rolled her eyes. "I manage the Chu Corporation, not the Su Corporation. You are too harsh on me," Su Ryukshuan continued. "I have not forgotten how my relatives and friends betrayed me." Father Su looked embarrassed when he heard this. Chuji was listening nearby. It seemed that Su Ryukshuan had left Su's company to focus on developing Chu's company. Was there some other hidden story behind this? But it doesn't matter. I'm here now, right? Dad, don't worry. I have a good relationship with the general manager of Chen's. I will arrange the contract tomorrow. The three of us will definitely succeed together. Of course, it would be difficult not to succeed, but Chu Ji made a detailed analysis based on the actual situation, especially the OEM processing of a certain foreign brand of mobile phones in Heikangguo will definitely have a period of explosive growth in this area in the future. After all, the population here is not comparable to that of Jinwen. This is also the reason why he built the factory here instead of in Jinwen. Father Su was very happy at this time and pulled Chu Ji to drink. Meanwhile, at the Li household, the head of the Li family had a gloomy face, and the person sitting opposite the head of the Li family was Zhao Bo. At this time, Zhao Bo was holding it with one hand, because the comminuted fracture caused by the last car accident has not yet healed. Master Li, I have provided you with funds to support your Li family as agreed. My goal is also very simple, which is Su Ruoxian's Chu group. I can confirm that Chu Ji is dead, and that person must not be Chu Ji. Su Ruoxian is now a widow. If your family can't even handle a widow, then I will consider cooperating with you. Patriarch Li asked, but how can you prove that person is not Chu Ji? This depends on you to investigate and verify. What? Do you want me to do everything? Then why should I cooperate with you? Zhao Bo looked ferocious. His Zhao family was besieged by the Chu family, Qin family, Li family, and Su family led by Su Ruoxian, and suffered heavy losses. The guy abroad felt there was no hope and was ready to cut off his support. It was because he took a different approach, sold all his capital and turned to support the Li family, which allowed the Li family to rise so quickly. What was he doing for? Wasn't he doing it to avenge the Zhao family and make it the top of Jinghai again? Now Charos and the Zhu family are competing for international discourse power and are unable to split their attention. This was also his chance. Otherwise, Charos would have killed him without the Zhu family's help. It was because he had wasted too much of Charos's capital. This gave the Zhu family an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. Now Zhao Bo hopes that Charos will be killed by the man from the Zhu family, so that he may still have a chance of survival. Therefore, it can be said that Zhao Bo is at the end of his road. And all this was caused by the woman from the Su family. But so what? You didn't expect that I would give all the funds to the Li family. This is just escaping from the shell, Zhao Bo snorted in his heart. Patriarch Li then continued, even if we find out that the person is not Chu Ji, as long as Su Ruoxian says it is, who dares to say it is not? Zhao Bo said impatiently, that's your business, you figure out how to do it yourself, I want Chu's assets. Patriarch Li, let me remind you that I can lift you up, but I can also pull you down, so don't test my bottom line. After Zhao Bo finished speaking, he stood up and left the study of Master Li. When I passed by the living room, I saw a woman who still had charm. Zhao Bo raised his eyebrows at the woman. The woman showed a hint of charm in the corners of her eyes and glared at Zhao Bo coquettishly. Not to mention that even though she is in her 40s, she is still full of charm. Zhao Bo winked at the woman. Then he walked out of the Li family villa. Soon the woman also walked out of the villa and got into the car next to them. The car started and arrived at a remote place. Then the car began to shake. After a long while, Zhao Bo said to the satisfied woman, keep an eye on him. If this succeeds, you will have done a great deed. The woman said, I will, but what are you going to do with me after this is done? Zhao Bo said, you are my woman, what do you say? The woman smiled with satisfaction. At this time, in the Li family villa, Patriarch Li said to Li Lan, who was sitting opposite him, how is the relationship I asked you to find going? I've already contacted them. I guarantee that this time Chu's new project will fail. Okay, although our Li family is not a top-tier wealthy family, our foundation is much stronger than those wealthy families. As long as there is a problem with the Chu family's key project, you can take advantage of it. Li Lan thought of Su Ruoxian's appearance. Her eyes were burning, but she continued, but is that guy really not Chu Ji? If it's you, do you think our plan will succeed? Then Chu Ji has another official identity. Li Lan's eyes lit up and he said, that is to say, if we succeed, we can also prove that guy is not Chu Ji at all. What? Su Ruoxian came to the company in a happy mood. But just as he sat down, he saw the secretary rushing in. Boss Su, something happened. Su Ruoxian frowned when she heard that. Chu Ji also realized that Su Ruoxian had been looking a little depressed recently. Chu Ji didn't ask any questions because he knew that he was just a fake husband, and it would not be good to care about him too much. But this doesn't mean that he has no way to know what happened to Su Ruoxian. Soon Qin Wanshu told him that someone was tampering with the key project of the Chu Corporation. Chu Ji thought about it carefully and suddenly said, "This may not be a bad thing." What? The land price in Jinghai is too high. Although Chu's has developed well, the pattern is still not open. Why must the factory be built in Jinghai? Since there is a problem, why not take the opportunity to move the factory out of Jinghai? Without Chu's, a major taxpayer, what will happen to the person who dares to tamper with Chu's industry? Qin Wanshu looked at Chu Ji in surprise and asked, "Have you thought about this a long time ago?" "Yes, didn't I tell you? In the past, I just wanted to expand our Chen's factory inland to be more cost-effective. Now we can do this together with Chu and Su." That night, Chu Ji came to Su Ruoxuan's villa as usual. Su Ruoxuan hasn't come back yet. It seems that she is indeed a little flustered. At this time, Su Ruoxuan was sitting in the office with a frown on her face. This project concerns the future of the Chu group, so how could she not take it seriously? This also includes Chu Ji's original plan. Su Ruoxuan feels that as a wife, she needs to help her husband achieve his goals. But now the project has been stopped for no reason. How could she not be angry? At this time, there was a knock on the door. A person walked in. It was Li Lan. "Why are you here?" Su Ruoxuan frowned. "I know you're in trouble. Do you need any help? My Li family has some connections," Li Lan said with concern. Su Ruoxuan was somewhat moved when she heard this. "Ruoxuan, how about we find a restaurant and sit down and have a good chat?" Li Lan continued. Chapter 256, Withdraw Investment. Su Ruoxian looked at Li Lan and said, "It's late today, let's do it another day." Li Lan was slightly stunned, then said, "Boss Su, some opportunities are not always available." Su Ruoxuan looked at Li Lan coldly and said, "Then let's just lose the opportunity." "Li Lan, I don't know what you are planning. Why did you come so late when you couldn't have come? Do you think I'm a fool?" Li Lan left with a gloomy face. After Li Lan left, the assistant came in. "Boss Su, does the Li family really have a connection?" The Li family does have a deep foundation, so it's not surprising that they have some connections. But how could you refuse? You know, if this matter is officially rejected, all our previous efforts will be wasted. Can we afford this loss? Su Ruoxuan frowned. "Some things cannot be compromised. I have made mistakes many times, and there won't be a next time." Just then she received a text message from Chu Ji. After seeing the text message, the sadness on Su Ruoxuan's face disappeared instantly. Her cold face was replaced by a smile, and she looked as beautiful as a fairy. Inside the villa, Chu Ji placed a plan on the table after sending the text message. "Then I went upstairs to take a shower and clean up." Not long after, Su Ruoxuan came back. When she saw Chu Ji's coat thrown on the sofa, a smile appeared on her face, as if only at this moment could she truly relax. Su Ruoxuan came to the sofa, picked up Chu Ji's coat, put it to her nose, and took a deep breath. An intoxicated look appeared on his face. Suddenly she saw the plan left by Chu Ji on the table. Su Ruoxuan opened the plan curiously. There was a sudden flash of light before my eyes. The sadness of the past few days disappeared in an instant. He is still himself. I knew that no matter how difficult the problem is, it is not a problem for him, Su Ruoxuan said with inexplicable surprise. Meanwhile, at the Li household, Patriarch Li clinked glasses with a bald middle-aged man. "Haha, thank you so much this time, brother," said the head of the Li family. "Alas, that's too polite. After all, we are family," said the man. "As long as I don't approve it, their project will never be implemented." "Haha, it still depends on you, my brother. Don't worry, you won't be in vain after the matter is accomplished." The head of the Li family laughed. "I wonder how long she can hold on. I've already spread the word that we can resolve this matter. If she doesn't come to beg me, she will be under pressure from all sides, and then she won't be able to do anything," Li Lan said sinisterly. The middle-aged man looked at Li Lan with a hint of disdain in his eyes. Just because he still wants to get involved in Su Ruoxuan, he is totally out of his mind. But this time the impact on the Chu family is indeed huge. Maybe the Li family really has a chance. Sure enough, without a man, even someone as strong as Su Ruoxuan would have to do something helpless. What a pity for such a beauty. Just then his cell phone suddenly rang. Mediterranean frowned at first, but when he saw the caller ID, he immediately became serious and quickly answered the call. "Yes, it's me." "What? How is this possible?" At this time, a roar came from the phone. "What's impossible? You've done a good thing, so you should be prepared to be investigated." The Li family father and son also heard this. Patriarch Li asked cautiously, "What's going on?" Mediterranean was like a dead mother at this moment. It's over, it's all over. Chu, Li, Su, and Qin have all announced that they will withdraw their new enterprises from Jinghai. These are all big taxpayers. If they really leave, Jinghai will suffer a huge loss. Upon hearing this, Patriarch Li's face froze. Mediterranean continued, I'm done for Patriarch Li, you've killed me. This was a personal act of his, and he thought it was okay, but he didn't expect Chu's reaction to be so intense. The Mediterranean hurried away. The head of the Li family and Li Lan were left looking at each other in bewilderment. This matter is just beginning now. Chu's new project is a high-end technology industry, and it is a project that every place hopes to compete for. But because the Chu family is from Jinghai, people from other places don't dare to think about it. Now there are people in Jinghai who are obstructing Chu's factory construction. This is really eye-opening. Upon hearing this, several other cities nearby quickly rushed over. Finally, Southern Island, representing the high-tech industry, won the project. The leaders of Jinghai were so angry that their faces turned red. But what can we do? One termite destroyed all the advantages. The leaders in Jinghai are very angry and will thoroughly investigate anyone who obstructs the development of high-tech industries. But it was too late. Chu Ji had already sent people to Hainan Island to investigate. The reason why Chu Ji chose that place is because of its special geographical location, and it is likely to become a new pearl. He is investing in advance and believes that their returns will definitely be generous. Chu Ji told Su Ruoxuan in detail the advantages of investing in Hainan Island. Su Ruoxuan nodded repeatedly after hearing this. In terms of vision and courage, she is always far behind Chu Ji. Chu Ji looked up at Su Ruoxuan and saw the gentle look in her eyes. Chu Ji's heart trembled slightly, and then he quickly lowered his head. He didn't dare to look at Su Ruoxuan again. Su Ruoxuan knew that she had lost her composure, but she felt she couldn't control herself. She really wanted to rub the man in front of her into her body now. After analyzing the gains and losses, Chu Ji said, Of course, we will not give up Jinghai. The factory here must also be built. Funding is not a problem. Our Chen Group will provide a sum of funds which will definitely not affect the construction here. Chu Ji walked out of Su Ruoxuan's office. As soon as I went out, I saw an urban beauty walking towards me. Mr. Li, someone called from the side. The urban beauty came to Chu Ji and asked, What's the matter? Mr. Chu didn't even go to see his old friends when he came back this time. Chu Ji quickly said, How could that be? It's Mr. Li, right? I haven't had the chance to visit him yet. Really, are you sure you want to visit me? Li Yao said with a smile. Certainly. Then it's better to go today than to wait for another day. I will take you there personally. Li Yao took a step forward. Chu Ji could smell her fragrance. At this time, the door opened and Su Ruoxian came out. Mr. Li, what did you say to my husband? Li Yao rolled her eyes and said, Someone is holding on to me and won't let me go. I came here to find him, didn't I? Su Ruoxian said, Okay, let's go inside and talk. After arriving at the office and closing the door, Li Yao's eyes fell on Chu Ji again. Mr. Li, I was wrong. How about I treat you to a meal as an apology? Chu Ji said to Li Yao. That's what you said, I didn't force you, Li Yao said cunningly. No, Su Ruoxuan next to her couldn't help it. Why not? Li Yao was also anxious. Chapter 257, Chu Ji's Evolution. It just won't work, Su Ruoxuan said. Mr. Chu and I are very good friends. Isn't it appropriate for him to have a drink with me when he comes back? Li Yao said. Su Ruoxuan was furious. Then he said, I'm going too. When he arrived at the designated location, Chu Ji was a little confused. Because there were several people coming this time, and they were all beauties, Chu Ji was a little dazzled. One of them was called Nan Shu, and she seemed to have never taken her eyes off him since he entered the room. This made Chu Ji feel a little uneasy. I drank too much without realizing it. Vaguely, he was helped out of the room by someone. It was the one named Nan Shu who was supporting him. Her whole delicate body was squeezed into his arms. Chu Ji felt a little dry in the mouth. He unconsciously used his hands to hold the petite woman in his arms. When Chu Ji woke up, he sat up suddenly. Looking to the side, it was empty, but there was still a faint fragrance. Chu Ji thought about the madness of last night and felt a little nostalgic. When he returned to Qin Wanshu, he was met with Zhu Moyu's teasing gaze. Did you sleep well last night? Chu Ji was slightly embarrassed. HMPH, all men are pigs, Zhu Moyu said. And here at the Li building. Li Yao pouted and looked at Nan Shu. You acted pretty quickly. Nan Shu's face turned red. I don't know either, but I just can't refuse. Don't mention what these women are thinking. Now Li Lan's family is in a gloomy mood. Because of them, all the connections that the Li family had accumulated over the years were wiped out in just a few days. There is no other reason. No one can stretch their hands too far. Those people have crossed the line in the Chu family's matter, and this is something that the higher-ups cannot tolerate. The Li family was also affected, and some projects were terminated. The Li family made a completely bad move this time. Li Lan asked, "What should we do now? What should we do? Is there any other solution? We must capture Su Ruoxian, otherwise our losses will be irreparable." "What do we do?" "We can start with the head of the Su family." "The head of the Su family." "That's right, the Su family is in decline and urgently needs external assistance. If we ask him for some help, do you think he will lend us a hand? Contact Zhao Bo and ask him to support us. We are determined to win this time." Li Lan asked, "Are we going to mobilize all of our Li family's resources?" Yes, it would have been impossible before, but now, Li Yunfeng indirectly died in his hands. If the Li family just sits back and does nothing, I'm afraid no one will take us seriously. So we have to force them to cut ties with that guy named Chu Yuan, and then completely take over the Chu group. That's right. As long as we go all out, the Qin family and the Su family won't dare to intervene rashly, and the Li family is not controlled by Li Yao alone. There is only the Chu family left. Why don't we just let them do whatever we want? Okay, let's do it. After receiving the news, Zhao Bo thought for a long time, then gritted his teeth and made a phone call. "I guarantee success this time. As long as we take down the Chu family, Zhu will be in a mess. That will be your chance, so trust me once. If I fail this time, I will die as an apology. I'll trust you this last time. Remember, if you fail, you know I have plenty of ways to kill you." Beep beep, the phone was hung up. Zhao Bo's face was gloomy, and there was a hint of viciousness. At the same time at Su Ruoxuan's place, Chu Ji is talking to Su Ruoxuan. The matter has been almost clarified. The one who did this is the Li family. Speaking of which, I have some history with this Li family. What? Then Chu Ji told Su Ruoxuan the story between him and Li Yunfeng. So this time they took such a big risk to deal with the Chu family, they might not have no intention of targeting me. It seems that I have implicated you. Li Yunfeng's ancestors are the Jinghai Li family. Of course not the Li family of Li Yao. It has nothing to do with Li Qing. Su Ruoxian shook her head and said, "Why should we talk about this?" Chu Ji was a little flustered when he heard this and hurriedly said, "So, they will not give up and will definitely find a way to make you surrender. Now that they can't attack you, maybe they will attack Chairman Su. What should we do?" Su Ruoxuan looked at Chu Ji curiously. The Chu Ji in the past would not be so dark, but the current Chu Ji does not mind assuming the worst of others. In her opinion, this is a kind of progress for Chu Ji. It feels like Chu Ji has transformed from a little puppy into a wolf king, because Chu Ji is now very aggressive and is no longer the passive person who took a beating before. Chu Ji said, "I have studied the rise of the Li family. Some of them were too sudden. Some of their assets were swallowed up very abruptly, as if someone did it on purpose. It's not normal. Maybe there is some force behind the Li family." Seeing Chu Ji frowning, Su Ruoxian was slightly stunned, and then she suddenly thought of something, and a gleam of light burst out in her eyes. "Zhao Bo, could it be him? No wonder I felt that the Zhao family was a little abnormal recently, and it collapsed too quickly. It turns out that he wanted to escape." Zhao Bo would never have thought that it was the Li family's stupidity that made Chu Ji notice them. It also exposed him. If he knew, he would probably want to die. Chu Ji touched his chin and suddenly smiled grimly. "Since the other party is looking for death, if we don't accept it, then it would be our fault." After Chu Ji finished speaking, he frowned and rubbed his forehead with his hand. The next day, Su Ruoxuan was working in the office when she suddenly received a call from her father. Su Ruoxuan's heart moved slightly. When the call was connected, Father Su's voice came. "Ruoxian, I just got the news. Tell me, is the person next to you Chu Ji?" Su Ruoxuan's eyes showed a hint of realization, and then she chuckled and said, "Of course." "Ruoxian, you still want to lie to me? That person is not Chu Ji at all. He is a general manager of the Jinwen Chen family. He has an unclear relationship with the daughter of the Jinwen Chen family. He is not Chu Ji. He is lying to you." Su Ruoxian asked, "Dad, who told you this?" "Don't worry about this. I think he has ulterior motives. Get away from him as soon as possible." Su Ruoxuan hung up the phone with a smile on her face. "Is he Aj or not? Is there anyone who knows better than me?" Su Ruoxuan's cheeks flushed slightly, as if she had thought of something. After hanging up the phone, Su Ruoxian said to someone beside her, "You've been back for so long, and you haven't gone to look for him yet." Su Wan said, Before the threat is completely eliminated, I can't get too close to him, otherwise I will be easily targeted. Can you lure them this time? Haha, they want to take advantage of me. How can they do that without paying some price? You should check carefully to see how powerful this Lee family is, Su Ryukshuan said. In order to make themselves look powerful, they will definitely borrow strength. These people are the foundation of the Lee family. If they are eliminated, the Lee family will be nothing more than a group of clowns. At this time, Li Lan was feeling very proud. They never imagined that Chu Ji was not Chu Ji, but a genuine native named Chu Yuan. Didn't this mean the opportunity had come? Li Lan went to find Su Ryukshuan excitedly. Chapter 258 End. When I arrived at the Chu building, I saw Chu Ji walking towards me, rubbing his forehead. Isn't this President Chu? Li Lan said sarcastically. Chu Ji was stunned and let go of the hand that was rubbing his forehead. He looked at Li Lan in a daze and asked, "Have we met before?" Li Lan was stunned. "You don't know me." Chu Ji frowned and said nothing, but his eyes looked confused. "Boss Chu, should I call you Chu Ji or Chu Yuan?" Chu Ji looked at Li Lan, who was very interested, and said speechlessly, "It's up to you." Li Lan's face froze. He didn't see any panic on Chu Ji's face, which made him very unhappy. "I just don't know what Ryukshuan would think if she knew you were a fake." Chu Ji didn't even think of paying attention to him. He was wondering who the other person was. How come my memory has become so bad? Li Lan was a little disappointed when she saw Chu Ji didn't answer. Then he sneered and walked into Su Ryukshuan's office. Soon Su Ryukshuan came out with a gloomy face and said to Chu Ji, "Come with me." Chu Ji saw Li Lan's smug look. Chu Ji was called to the office. Without waiting for Su Ryukshuan to speak, Chu Ji asked, "Who is that person outside?" Su Ryukshuan looked at Chu Ji in astonishment. Then there was a hint of panic in his eyes. "I'll accompany you to the hospital," Su Ryukshuan said. Chu Ji became even more curious. "Why?" Su Ryukshuan said in a trembling voice. "Listen to me, I won't hurt you." Chu Ji nodded. He was very sure of this. Meanwhile, at the Li household, Zhao Bo came here while the head of the Li family was out. Then he quietly walked into the hostess's bedroom. Soon, obscene music was heard in the room. Just then, the head of the Li family came back. "Dear, have you seen my document?" The door opened, and Patriarch Li stood there in a daze as he looked at the scene inside. Then there was an angry roar. "Zhao Bo, you beast!" Bang, a sudden gunshot rang out. Patriarch Li looked at the bullet hole in front of him and looked towards the opposite side in disbelief. "You actually killed him, you actually killed him." The woman looked at Zhao Bo in shock. Zhao Bo's face was gloomy. "You beast, how could you kill him? He is the father of my child." The woman collapsed. Zhao Bo looked at the woman who was throwing a tantrum at him with a hint of disgust in his eyes. There is also a hint of madness. Who made him see something he shouldn't have seen? "What now?" Zhao Bo calmed down for a moment and said fiercely, "The only way is to muddy the water." Then a shocking news came. Even Chu Ji, Su Ryukshuan, and others were caught off guard when they received the news. The news is that the head of the Li family committed suicide out of fear of punishment. This made Chu Ji a little confused. What was going on? However, Su Ryukshuan thought of someone in an instant. It seems he is really crazy. But how could such a crude trick fool the police? Soon the woman was under control. Then Zhao Bo was wanted. Li Lan went crazy and tried to fight Zhao Bo. On the third day, the police found Zhao Bo at an abandoned construction site. Li Lan's body was also found. Zhao Bo killed Li Lan. Zhao Bo was also surrounded by the police. The other party jumped down from the roof without hesitation. But when he jumped down, he laughed like a lunatic. It's just so dramatic. Chu Ji thought he would have to deal with the Li family for a while, but he didn't expect it to end like this. But their preparations were not in vain. In order to get the Su family and Su Ryukshuan to take the bait, the Li family took out their most valuable treasure. As a result, the Su family benefited greatly from this. I just wanted to show my appreciation, but ended up throwing meat buns at a dog. In less than half a month, the Li family completely disappeared in Jinghai. The Su family once again secured its position as one of the 4 largest families. Su Ryukshuan's Chu family was also completely promoted to a new wealthy family, which was not inferior to the Su family at all. Zhao Bo's failure here also meant that Charos's plan here had completely failed. All the money cheated by Zhao Bo went into the pockets of Chu and Su Ryukshuan transferred a large part of the money abroad. Zhu Wongking looked at the money transferred to her, her eyes sparkling. "He has never let me down. Now that we have the money, it's easy to talk. Let's do it." Soon after, the international situation changed dramatically. and the Charos family fell in Europe. A group of new families led by Zhu Wongking rushed forward and divided up the Taros family. A new family quickly rose up, also the Chu family. Heiress became the new president of Chu Corporation overseas. It turned out that after Zhu Wongking knew about the relationship between Chu Ji and AI Ruosi, she had already secretly contacted AI Ruosi to deal with the Charos family together. Now Zhu Wongking has given most of the results to Heiress. Based on Charos's foundation, Heiress took over many of Charos's businesses and became a new powerful figure. Zhu Wongking returned to China. At this time in her manor, in addition to Zhu Wongking, there are many other women. Each one is stunningly beautiful. Among them are Zhu Moyu, the three sisters of the Su family, Li Yao, Li Qing, Nan Shu, and others. I plan to take him abroad for treatment. Do you have any objections? Zhu Wongking spoke while sitting on the sofa and looking at the women. None of Su Ruoxuan and the others dared to object. We'll listen to you, Su Ruoxuan said. Okay, as long as you, the wife, have spoken. Neurology abroad is more advanced than in China, so we should give it a try. His condition is not just as simple as amnesia. His brain cells have been damaged, which is why he suddenly can't remember some people he met not long ago. Fortunately, Wanshu performed 2 operations on him, which alleviated his condition, but did not cure it. Now Wanshu has gone there to prepare, and I can take him there and the surgery can take place immediately. I'll leave the family affairs to you, Ruoxian. You can decide on your own whether to tell the 2 sisters of the Chen family about the situation in Jinwen, Ruoxian. Suddenly, Zhu Wongking's phone rang. After answering the phone, she raised her eyebrows and said, "They have already gone to Europe. They really know how to seize the opportunity. Okay, the 2 sisters of the Chen family have already arrived at Erosi's place. I will take him away now." Zhu Wongking stood up. At this time, her phone rang again, and Zhu Wongking quickly answered it. "What's wrong? Baby, don't cry, Mommy will sing a song for you, okay?" Su Ruoxuan and several other women looked at Zhu Wongking with jealousy. Especially Su Ruoxuan, she touched her belly and sighed. At this moment, Nan Shu next to him suddenly covered his mouth and ran to the side. Su Ruoxuan stood there in a daze upon seeing this. Chu Ji has been particularly sleepy these days. It is difficult for him to wake up after falling asleep, and he feels groggy every day. Seeing Zhu Wongking walk in, he frowned and looked at her. He didn't know what he was thinking about. He asked tentatively, "Wife?" He felt like it was the first time he met Zhu Wongking, but he felt like she was his wife. This feeling made Chu Ji a little crazy, but fortunately he held it back. Zhu Wongking suddenly covered her mouth. It turned out that she was so important in his heart. Even though he had lost his memory, he still remembered her deep in his heart. Zhu Wongking calmed down and said, "I have prepared a big surprise for you. Do you want to go to Europe to take a look?" "What surprise?" Chu Ji asked. "You'll know when you get there." Zhu Wongking smiled as she climbed onto the bed, hugged him in her arms, and said, "You can rest for a while, there's no rush." What? Su Ruoxuan watched the plane leave at the airport. Su Wan asked, "He will remember it, right?" Su Ruoxuan looked at Su Wan. How could she have forgotten that it was Su Wan who most wanted Chu Ji to recover his memory? She was the one who always stayed by his side. They didn't tell Chu Ji the truth, which was unfair to Su Wan. "We just need to wait for him at home. I will take good care of his family business and wait for him to come back," Su Ruoxuan said. What? Extra Su Zin's past. Su Zin thinks she is prettier than Su Ruoxuan. She is also Su Ruoxuan's sister. Logically speaking, she should be the most dazzling pearl of the Su family. But I'm not as smart as her. In other words, her family did not provide her with any training in that area, so she must not be the one to inherit the family business. She was very dissatisfied with this. She felt that she was no worse than Su Ruoxuan, so she compared herself with her everywhere. Unfortunately, whether in academic performance or other talents, Su Ruoxuan is always better than her. This made her grit her teeth, but there is nothing I can do, because she couldn't beat Su Ruoxuan. For some reason, that woman was incredibly strong, even stronger than a man. What's even more terrifying is that when she's angry or drunk, she's like a different person. That time, Su Ruoxuan actually kicked the eldest son of the Li family, who was also a wealthy family, to death. This made them enemies with the Li family. I didn't know how to discuss it later. The family actually wanted her to marry into the Li family, perhaps planning to reconcile with the Li family. After all, if the 2 wealthy families really fight each other, no one will benefit. Then the person to be married can only be myself. The marriage partner is the second son of the Li family. She was not happy at first, but when she thought that the eldest son of the Li family was crippled, The second son would definitely be the one to take over the Li family in the future. Does this count as suppressing Su Ryukshuan? After all, Su Ryukshuan is looking for a son-in-law. So how could such an outstanding young man marry into her family? So she agreed to the marriage. As long as I become the mistress of the Li family, I will definitely be able to surpass Su Ryukshuan. But she never expected that her husband actually didn't like women, he liked men. He hasn't touched me since they got married. Of course, I also felt disgusted with the other person and avoided him. This made her feel extremely unbalanced. But she couldn't express her pain. Fortunately, his uncle's second wife didn't like Su Ryukshuan and tried every means to kick her out. He actually suggested that Su Ryukshuan go on a blind date with the illegitimate son of the Zhang family. She heard that there had been a quarrel that day. Su Ryukshuan actually went on a blind date, which made her very excited. An illegitimate child is simply a scandal. Su Ryukshuan will also become a scandal. She was so happy when she thought of this. Later, she heard that Su Ryukshuan actually married that man on the spot, which shocked her. But later on, he found out that the person was not Zhang Heng, but a student from Jinghai University who came to the blind date on Zhang Heng's behalf. But it doesn't matter. After all, the other party is just a peasant. As long as you grasp this point, you can still laugh at him. So she went back to the Su family that day and met Su Ryukshuan's cheap husband. What she didn't expect was that the guy named Chu Ji was so handsome. His eyes are calm and gentle. When you look into his eyes, you will feel relaxed and happy. Your whole body will feel numb and you will want to stay by his side forever. She got jealous when she discovered this, so she was extremely sarcastic towards Chu Ji. It was not because she disliked that person, but she wanted to make herself feel more balanced. But the other party clearly heard his sarcasm, but he still seemed very calm, and that indifferent temperament made him crazy. How could there be such people in the world? And she could clearly feel that Su Ryukshuan liked Chu Ji very much. Although Chu Ji doesn't seem to like Su Ryukshuan very much. But so what? Compared to my guy feels like a piece of shit. But that is my own choice, and I will keep going even if I have to kneel. But she didn't expect that her husband would become even worse. It would have been fine if he just ignored her, but he also mocked the Su family. He also showed disrespect to his parents. So they broke out into a quarrel. Even at that party at the Su family, her cheap husband did not show her the slightest bit of mercy. She was simply sickened by the thought of him leaning on a man and asking for something. So she filed for divorce on the spot. I ran to the Su family's attic and cried. Her uncle and aunt also came to comfort her, which was considered as their approval of her decision. But not long after that day, she heard her uncle roaring, because Su Pin's stupid brother actually drove away Chu Ji, who had made great contributions to the Su family. They said he was a peasant and not worthy of staying in the Su family. Then Su Pin pulled Xiao Han and called him brother-in-law. Thinking of Su Ryukshuan's expression at that time, she actually felt a little happy. When she saw Chu Ji again, she didn't expect it was at the Civil Affairs Bureau. He still divorced Su Ryukshuan. What is even more incomprehensible is that Xiao Han, the third party, also went there. So much so that she thought Su Ryukshuan was deliberately humiliating Chu Ji. It was a good thing that Chu Ji divorced her, at least that's what she thought. After this incident, she felt that she should talk to her once disgusting husband about the division of property. It's ridiculous to just give yourself a few villas and want to kill yourself. She went to the bar with a few people that day. I saw my ex-husband and his mistress. Thinking of the situation at that time, she couldn't eat for several days. Under her sarcasm and persistence, her ex-husband was willing to give her a game company. I don't know much about the company, but since it is worth some money, I'll take it. I thought the matter ended here. Who would have thought that my ex-husband's mistress actually wanted to sleep with me? He actually drugged himself, but they all underestimated me, and I would never let them succeed even if I die. My people are all outside, so I have to go out and call them and make sure they get into trouble. He rushed out of the private room, knocking over some wine bottles along the way. It's to attract the attention of your own people. But she didn't expect that the people she brought did not show up, but Chu Ji appeared. Seeing him standing in front of her, she felt warm in her heart. She admitted that she liked him the first time she met him, although she had never treated him well. When I saw him get hit by a wine bottle in order to protect myself, I felt that the man in front of me was my Prince Charming. Unfortunately, that guy was stupid and actually drank the other person's wine, which contained medicine. I reminded him, but he didn't hear it. Maybe I didn't want him to hear it. She didn't expect Chu Ji was also good at fighting. One man knocked down 3 men. However, the other side still had more people, and he was knocked down. But he still protected her under him. At that time, feeling the oppression on her body, she actually felt an unprecedented impulse, and she even hoped that time would freeze at this moment. She smelled a very special scent on the other person, and under the influence of this scent, she almost lost her mind. Fortunately, our people arrived. He took the opportunity to help himself out of the bar, but the effects of the medicine were also on the verge of exploding. Him too. He went to the hotel next door and booked a room. I was secretly delighted at that time. Who knew that after he came into the room, he actually threw himself into the bathtub and poured water on himself. This idiot, if the effect of the medicine can be eliminated so easily, is it still medicine? Later, the guy fainted due to the effects of the medicine. Everyone thought the ambulance arrived quickly that day, but no one knew that he had given the wrong house number. So it was more than 10 minutes later that the paramedics found me. 10 minutes is enough to do a lot of things. So after that day, she was his. He is just an animal. After that, she kept thinking about him in her heart, but the guy didn't take the initiative to find her, which made her very dissatisfied. Later, I accidentally learned that he wanted to buy a house to pay for his sister's schooling. She immediately thought of the 2 large flats that she had taken from the Lee family. Wouldn't it be better if you could just find an excuse for him? Then I founded a company with him and went through the ups and downs together. That day he came back drunk from the flat and left quietly. The person he was calling out was someone called Sister Wonking. He was really beastly that night. No one knew about this, including him. That is to say, it happened twice, and he was completely unaware of it both times. He was even secretly happy about it. It seemed that it would be nice to live his life like this. Who could have thought that one day his own mother would come to drive him away? At that time, she felt like the sky was falling. What my mother drove away was not Chu-ji, but my own life. At that time, she felt that there was a gap between her and him, although the surface remained the same. I couldn't bear the other party's indifference, so I thought about leaving. But that day, he told her that he felt empty when she was not around. Only I know the joy in my heart at that moment. She decided not to leave, and she tore up her plane ticket. From now on, she would die by his side. Later, many things happened, and he was in danger. When he heard the news, he felt that he was going to die too. Fortunately, Su-won got the news that he was still alive. Later, he was taken away for treatment by a person named Wonking. It was 3 months later that I saw him again. He still didn't remember it very clearly, but he had become a lot worse, and he liked it very much. AI Ruosi really got him an identity that allowed him to marry many wives. They all followed him and changed their nationality. Now she can finally call him husband openly. It's just that he has a lot of women, but it doesn't matter, as long as he is there. Now that she was pregnant, seeing him gently bringing her chicken soup, she felt that she could bear several children for him. I can't compare to Zhu Wonking, but I have to be better than Chen Yi and Chen Zixiu. Outside the door, Li Qing and Liu Jing walked in hand. The way they look at their husbands is not serious.